The sharp chime of the school bell echoed across the campus, signaling the end of another day. The once orderly school grounds instantly erupted into a wave of movement and chatter as students flooded out of the buildings, their laughter and voices blending into the afternoon air. "Luo Feng, brother! Luo Feng, brother!" A deep, booming voice rose above the noise. "Feng, someone's calling for you," a nearby student nudged Luo Feng. Amidst the flowing crowd, Luo Feng glanced up from the bookmark in his hand. Dressed in the standard blue sports uniform, he stood at 175 centimeters, slightly lean, but carrying an air of quiet strength. His gaze settled on the person calling him, a towering figure, at least 190 centimeters tall, with broad shoulders and a waist as solid as an iron pillar. His biceps were massive, rippling with power. Luo Feng blinked in surprise. "You are?" He studied the approaching giant, failing to recognize him. The contrast between the two was striking, one built like a fortress, the other seemingly ordinary. Yet, the burly newcomer's demeanor was anything but arrogant. His expression was one of respect and admiration. So the rumors were true, the young man muttered to himself. "Luo Feng, brother, really is approachable. Luo Feng, brother, I need your help with something." Luo Feng chuckled. "With what?" The bulky student hesitated before answering. "I've been training my punches, but something feels off. According to my dojo instructor, my strength should let me unleash at least 50% power in a strike, but I just can't reach that level, no matter how hard I try." His voice carried frustration, but also hope. Luo Feng considered for a moment, then nodded. "All right, meet me at the dojo this Friday at noon." "Really? Thank you, brother." "Thank you." The burly student repeatedly bowed his head in gratitude, grinning ear to ear. Luo Feng just smiled before walking off with his friends. As he disappeared into the crowd, the muscular student clenched his fists, his veins bulging from excitement. "Yes," he roared. A classmate in a school uniform laughed in disbelief. "Whoa!" Luo Feng agreed that brother is different from the others, the burly student declared proudly. "But that's strange," his friend mused. "In our entire school of 5,000 students, only 3 have earned the title of martial arts elite student: Zhang Haobai, Lu Ting, and Luo Feng. The other 2 act all high and mighty, refusing to help anyone. But Luo Feng, he's actually willing to teach others." The burly student grinned. "That's what makes him different." He continued, "Zhang Haobai and Lu Ting come from wealthy families. Their parents spent ridiculous amounts of money training them, which is why they're so strong. But Luo Feng, he had no advantages. He came from nothing, just raw, relentless training. He fought his way up with his own fists." The boy in the school uniform nodded. "Yeah, I heard Luo Feng lives in a low-rent housing district. His rise wasn't because of money. It was because of sheer determination." The burly student clenched his fists, his eyes burning with resolve. "Luo Feng is my goal. Before I graduate from college, I'll pass the dojo's test and become an elite member too." Luo Feng's perspective. Meanwhile, Luo Feng was casually making his way toward the school gate alongside his close friend, Wei Wen, another student in a sports uniform. "Feng, that blockhead who asked for your help looked thrilled when you agreed," Wei Wen teased. "He was saying what a great guy you are, how approachable you are." Luo Feng smirked. "What? Are you jealous, Wei Wen?" "Me? Jealous?" Wei Wen scoffed, playfully rubbing his nose. "You wish. I just find it hilarious. That guy has no idea what you're really like. I still remember that dojo competition where you fought 3 opponents back-to-back. None of them could even stand up afterward." Luo Feng chuckled. That match had solidified his reputation. He gave Wei Wen a friendly punch on the shoulder. "Let's head home." Wei Wen exaggerated a wince. "Feng, a little gentler, please. One hit from you, and my shoulder's gonna break." Luo Feng just laughed. Wei Wen had been his best friend since childhood. They weren't brothers by blood, but their bond was just as strong. Elementary school, middle school, high school, they had always been together. Suddenly, Wei Wen nudged Luo Feng and whispered, "Hey, look ahead, it's her." Luo Feng's heart skipped a beat. His gaze instinctively followed Wei Wen's, landing on a girl amidst the crowd. Jeans, a white polo t-shirt, and a simple ponytail. His chest tightened. Su Xian. Luo Feng's crush. Few people knew about it, but Wei Wen had figured it out long ago. It had started in their first year of high school. Luo Feng had been seated behind Su Xian in class, and for some reason, he couldn't stop looking at her back. He never spoke to her, never tried to get closer. Just watching from afar was enough. But in their second year, their classes were shuffled. They were no longer in the same grade. Still, every time Luo Feng saw her, his eyes would linger. Now, with just 1 month until final exams, he knew the truth. I never had the courage before, and now it's too late. Everyone is focused on exams. She's working hard to improve herself. I can't distract her, or myself. Luo Feng exhaled softly. This love, I'll just make it a memory. Clashing with Jiang Haobai. As they neared the school gate, Luo Feng's eyes narrowed. A group of 5 stood in the crowd. Their leader was a tall student, at least 180 centimeters, dressed in white, with a broad chest and a smug demeanor. The 4 surrounding him looked equally intimidating, their muscular builds and sharp glares making them stand out. Jiang Haobai, one of the 3 elite students. The moment Jiang Haobai saw Luo Feng, his expression darkened. A sneer curled his lips. Luo Feng smirked, but said nothing. He had no interest in petty fights. Wei Wen nudged him. That guy still hates you after all this time, huh? Luo Feng shrugged. Let's go. As he walked past, Jiang Haobai clenched his teeth, his jaw tightening. The memory of that dojo match haunted him. Luo Feng had beaten him so badly. He had lost a tooth that day. He humiliated me in front of everyone. Watching Luo Feng leave, Jiang Haobai's grip tightened into a fist. One day, I'll pay you back, Luo Feng. Just wait. A sudden crisis. As Luo Feng and Wei Wen walked home, the city buzzed around them. The streets were filled with cars, their electric motors humming in the distance. Then, a sharp, ear-splitting screech ripped through the air. Luo Feng's ears throbbed. The sound wasn't just loud, it was unnatural. A shadow passed overhead. Wei Wen's eyes widened. Feng, look up. Luo Feng did. A massive black-crowned golden eagle soared above the city. Its 20-meter body gleamed under the sun, metallic feathers reflecting the light like armor. It let out another deafening cry. And then, boom! The air shattered as it broke the sound barrier, diving toward the city. Glass windows exploded, raining deadly shards onto the streets below. Pedestrians screamed. Cars swerved. Chaos erupted. Luo Feng's gaze locked onto a piece of falling glass, slicing toward him like a dagger. With lightning-fast reflexes, his hand shot up. Snap! He caught the shard midair. Wei Wen gawked. Holy Feng! That was insane! Luo Feng didn't respond. His eyes remained fixed on the sky. The black-crowned golden eagle was circling. The southern sector of the city was a sprawling, densely packed rental district. Here, towering concrete buildings stood like massive gray pillars, crammed together with no thought for sunlight or space. Cheap yet functional, these apartments were home to countless families struggling to make ends meet. Luo Feng's home was in one such building, on the 32nd floor of a 36-story apartment complex. As he approached his building, Wei Wen, his longtime friend, waved him down. Feng, want to hit the dojo tonight? Wei Wen asked as he turned toward his own apartment. Luo Feng shook his head with a smile. I've got some family matters to take care of. If I finish early, I might stop by. Don't wait up. With that, Luo Feng darted up the staircase. His movements were fluid, each stride covering 4 steps at a time. He moved like a panther in motion, reaching the 2nd floor in mere seconds. Step, step, step. Floor after floor, he ascended effortlessly. Even while sprinting, he remained agile, weaving past residents with ease. Feng, back from school? An older man called out as he passed. Yeah, Uncle Wang. Luo Feng replied, his breath steady. Being an elite member of the dojo, running up 32 flights of stairs was no different from taking a leisurely stroll. Most of the residents didn't mind the lack of an elevator. For them, climbing stairs was a normal part of life. Adding an elevator would only mean higher rent, something few could afford. The city's energy supply was prioritized for defense systems, and electricity was expensive. For the working-class residents here, climbing dozens of floors daily was just routine. Luo Feng's home. Upon reaching the 32nd floor, Luo Feng pulled out his key. Click! The door unlocked, and he stepped inside. "Brother, is that you?" a soft voice called from within. "Yeah, it's me," Luo Feng replied, shutting the door behind him. His home was a small, one-bedroom apartment, a cramped 36 ping living space. A ping is approximately 3.3 square meters, making the apartment around 120 square feet. It had always been home. From his earliest memories, he had lived here with his parents and younger brother. A brother's determination. Luo Feng walked onto the balcony, where his younger brother, Luo Hua, sat in a wheelchair, a book open on his lap. His frail frame and sickly pale skin made him look weaker than he truly was. "What are you reading?" Luo Feng asked with a smile. Luo Hua lifted his gaze. "A book on Perched, the investment expert." Luo Feng chuckled. "I thought Beifite was the most famous investor?" "Beifite's methods aren't suitable for me," Luo Hua said with a faint smile. "Perchet's theories align better with my own ideas. There's more I can learn from him." Luo Feng nodded. He knew nothing about investments, but admired his brother's passion. Still, as his eyes drifted downward, his chest tightened. Luo Hua's legs, crushed by a car accident when he was younger, everything below his thighs had been shattered. He had been confined to a wheelchair ever since. Life had been cruel to him. Society had little sympathy for those who were disabled. Opportunities were scarce. His education was limited to online courses, and he rarely left home, leaving his skin pale from the lack of sunlight. His world was small. His friends were few. He deserves better, Luo Feng thought. His parents worked low-paying jobs, struggling to provide for both of them. The financial burden was overwhelming. "I have to change our fate." Luo Feng clenched his fists. "This is why I have no time for romance." Others his age were dating, falling in love, planning their futures. But for Luo Feng, there was no such luxury. Suet, his crush, the girl who made his heart race. In their world, many students dated in high school. Some even married right after graduation. It was common, but not for him. "Because I can't afford to waste time." He had no wealthy family, no elite tutors, no easy path to success. "Everything I achieve must be through my own effort." His eyes landed on the old, worn-out sofa in the living room. For years, his parents had slept on that couch, while he and his brother shared the only bedroom. "One day, I'll buy us a real home, a spacious house with a massive window where sunlight floods in. A place where his parents can sleep on a proper bed. A place where his brother doesn't struggle to go down the stairs. A place with an elevator." He had repeated these thoughts countless times. This was why he worked so hard. And this was why he was different from the other two elite members at his school. Unlike them, he had no privilege, only sheer willpower. A night of study. The sound of running water filled the apartment as Luo Feng filled the electric kettle. Chi. Steam rose as he plugged it in. Sitting on the sofa, he opened his history textbook, flipping through the marked sections he had memorized. After a while, ding, the kettle boiled. Luo Feng poured hot water into a thermos and a plastic cup, placing them on the table before resuming his studies. AD 2026, the Battle of Hongzhe. Luo Feng murmured historical events under his breath, committing them to memory. Though his best subject was math, he was most fascinated by history. The history of human reformation. Each page filled him with unease. This was not just history. This was the story of survival. A brother's help. Luo Feng walked over to Luo Hua. "Hua, can you quiz me?" Luo Hua smirked. "Finally, my turn to test you." Taking the history book, Luo Hua flipped to the highlighted sections. "All right, first question." He grinned. "Who slayed the tiger-headed dragon, saving hundreds of thousands of people during the evacuation to the Jiang base?" Luo Feng barely hesitated. That was Dong Nan Bao. He was awarded the 4-star Hero Medal. Born in Yuan, Jiang Taixing, he died at age 39. Luo Hua raised an eyebrow. What exact date? Luo Feng hesitated. June 18th, 2018. Luo Hua burst into laughter. Wrong. June 16th. Luo Feng slapped his forehead. I always mix up 16 and 18. The two continued, question after question. By the time they were halfway through the book, Luo Hua checked the clock. Mom and Dad will be home soon. One final question, he said. The most important of them all. Summarize the Grand Nirvana period. Luo Feng's expression turned serious. The Grand Nirvana period. It had changed the course of human history forever. In the early 21st century, the world saw multiple viral outbreaks. SARS in 2003, H1N1 in 2009, and finally, the R-type virus in 2013. As it spread, it mutated into 20 different strains, making it nearly impossible to counter. By 2015, a new mutation emerged, the RR virus. It wasn't just transmitted through body fluids anymore. It could survive in water. And worse, it became airborne. Luo Feng's hands clenched. The Grand Nirvana period, the time when the world fell apart. A history of blood, survival, and rebirth. And now, it was their reality.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
Right when the RR disease appeared, it rapidly spread around the world. All forms of life, as long as they needed to breathe, whether human or flying beasts, were infected. By the time humans found the existence of the RR disease, it was already too late. After the infection of the RR disease, the death rate was reaching 30%. In a matter of those 3 months, excluding the mass deaths of animals, the population of the world dropped by nearly 2 billion. The survivors neared 5 billion, whom all have a natural resistance against the disease. During these nightmarish 3 months, the whole planet experienced excruciating pain. During this process, the 5 billion survivors realized that their bodies have strengthened. Virtually everyone's power, speed, rate of cell division, and skin toughness have at least doubled. Even an average man could easily surpass the previous world champion in running and weightlifting. And then disaster started. The humans who have lived so comfortably have strengthened so much. The beasts who have survived the RR disease have went through even harsher conditions. In their transformations, their strength has raised surprisingly far beyond humans. And some of these horrifying beasts got even smarter. September 2015. Starting from the attack of the plethora of organisms in the sea, countless of beast-transformed animals started attacking human settlements. Blood madness. In the war between human and beast, the humans have realized that their explosive weapons that they were so proud of only worked on the lower-grade beasts. The stronger flying and crawling beasts had no fear towards the cannons. The bullets couldn't even scratch their armor. Homing missiles are easily dodged by speedy, quick-reacting beasts. Even when humans used nuclear attacks, they shockingly found out the defense capability of the monsters were too great. Only those within the blast radius of the bomb died. The monsters in the surrounding area weren't killed. The power of the bomb wasn't as strong as the humans thought it would be. Even though it killed a horde of monsters, the radiation from the bomb gave birth to even more horrifying monsters. The most famous and horrifying monster of that year was the Crimson Sky Wolf, which could fly and massacred hundreds of thousands of people. It was at this time people realized radiation could actually mutate the monsters. Although horrifying monsters appeared, powerful warriors also sprung out from the human side. The Crimson Sky Wolf was defeated by a super powerful warrior who could also fly, ranked number 2 internationally, Thunderlord. These warriors saved a large amount of normal civilians in a crucial time. They assisted the army in fighting off the horde of monsters. During this time, many epic stories came about. Human scientists used materials from the corpses of monsters along with a metal called blue gold, found on the moon to make a metal alloy even harder than diamond, the Luo alloy. Given these powerful weapons that could cut through the monster's armor, the powerful warriors didn't have to rely on just their bare hands anymore. This portion of history was very clear in Luo Feng's mind. During the war, a large portion of the city was destroyed. In the continent of Asia, countries were hastily building 6 major bases to transfer the huge population to. For the warriors, my country and India have the largest amount. For technology, the United States, European Union, and Russia were leaders. Since the number of monsters in the sea are immeasurable, all of the island countries were destroyed. Even now, the sea is the monsters' territory. In the war between humanity and monsters, the only countries that are capable of defending themselves are India, the United States, the European Union, Russia, and my country. The rest of the countries were destroyed a long time ago. In the critical moment, the United Earth Federation was formed, with the 5 countries as its nucleus. The united forces of the United Earth Federation helped create many human bases all around the world. Luo Feng marveled. A war that lasted 5.5 years, the most horrifying war. In this war, deaths totaled to nearly 10 billion. Only the system maintained by the 5 countries stayed intact. The rest of the country's survivors mixed together in various human bases. Until now, on land, the humans maintained the advantage. But the countless monsters in the sea maintained their control over the sea. From 2013 to 2021, in these 8 years, was the grand nirvana period of human history. Luo Feng sat on the couch. Dong, 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 dong. The clock's sound echoed within the house. The clock on the wall rang 5 times, which signals that it's currently 5 p.m. The grand nirvana period, Luo Huan marveled. Brother, truthfully, I can't really wrap my head around what the world was like before the grand nirvana period. There were over 200 countries, so how many people were there? Only 7 billion. Some countries would be in grave danger. Just one powerful beast would be able to wipe an entire country off the map. Luo Feng nodded, which is why the whole world is comprised of 5 powerful countries and 23 cities. On the entire planet, there were 5 countries in total: China, India, the United States of America, the European Union, and Russia. Locations such as South America and Africa made up the 23 cities or bases. China had 6 human bases, which are the present 6 major cities. Luo Feng's home was Yuan region's Yangzhou city, one of the 8 parts of Jiangnan City. The entire population of Jiangnan City neared 200 million. Yangzhou City of Jiangnan City's Yuan region had over 1 million people. Jiangnan City base used to be comprised of Yuan Jiansu Star. Of course, there were also Yuan and Wei Star. Asterisk, these are different kinds of ethnic groups. So long ago, Luo Hua looked towards the clock hanging on the wall. Right now, it's 2056. The Grand Nirvana period is already more than 30 years into the past. In our society, virtually everyone has to go train in a dojo. Our society is much stronger than it was 30 years ago. Luo Feng nodded. In 30 years, there definitely was a major increase in powerful warriors along with a steady progression in technology. However, many terrifying monsters have also been born. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Ka. The door was opened, and a middle-aged couple walked in. The man's shirt was drenched in sweat and had some paint stains. It was clear he was very tired. The woman, holding a basket containing vegetables and meat, wasn't very tall. Dad, Mom, Luo Feng immediately rose. They are his parents. Father Luo Hong Gua, Mother Gong Xian Lan. Ha Feng, keep reading. Don't bother with me. Luo Hongwa laughed. Since his son has exams soon, studying is of utmost importance in Luo Hongwa's eyes. Luo Hongwa lowered his head and saw a large plastic bottle of tap water. The fact that there was always water ready for him every time he returned warmed his heart. After working all day, he would take this bottle and drink the entire thing in one gulp, letting out a satisfied breath of air. Hurry up and go take a shower. You reek of sweat. Gong Xian Lan laughed. Haha, Luo Hongwa laughed and immediately went to get a change of clothes, headed towards the small corner that served the family for many years as a bathroom. Gong Xian Lan laughed and looked at her 2 sons. Feng, Hua, today Mom is going to make roasted meat. Roasted meat is my favorite, Luo Hua yelled right away. Luo Feng also laughed. As he watched his mother put on her apron and prepare to cook dinner, Luo Feng was clear. Mom always went grocery shopping in the evening after her work, since the price for the groceries are much cheaper than the mornings. However, the groceries wouldn't be as fresh by then. Luo Feng then glanced at the bathroom, thinking, I must hurry and get the title of fighter so Mom wouldn't have to go grocery shopping during the evening and Dad wouldn't have to go work so much. In his heart, Luo Feng has always wished for his parents to be able to take a break and enjoy the sunlight and good food in peace. Feng, Luo Hong will walk towards Luo Feng after finishing his shower. Dad has something to tell you. What? Luo Feng looked at his father. Luo Feng laughed a bit. It's like this, Feng. I never asked you what your plans you had for after high school graduation. Could you tell me? Luo Hongguo rarely talked about these kinds of matters with his son because he didn't want to pressure him. He knew that his son worked very hard and has performed very well. Right when Luo Hongguo said this, Gong Xanlan's cooking movements started to slow down a bit. Luo Feng's parents really cared for their son's future. Dad, I was thinking like this. Luo Feng added, according to my grades, I'm sure that getting into Jiangnan's #1 military academy wouldn't be difficult. Now that I have earned the dojo's elite title, I would be raised as an officer in the military academy. Mom and Dad can enter into the family section of the military. There were also different tiers in the military. China, of course, recruited soldiers. However, regular soldiers didn't receive much. However, for a young man holding the title of elite and getting into Jiangnan's #1 military academy would have intellect and strength. The country would surely focus on such people and give their families a home. For the family of an officer, the conditions would be tens of hundreds of times better than this cheap, rented home. Then what if you can't get in that #1 military academy? Luo Hongguo said, Feng, don't give yourself too much pressure. There are 2 main military academies in Jiangnan City. If anything goes wrong in your exams and you are unable to get into the best academy, there is absolutely no problem with going to the second one. Luo Feng clearly understood his grades. Normally, he can score around 50 points higher than the average bachelor. For the second military academy, he only has to reach the average. In the test today, there are only 2 types, bachelors and specialists. There is also only one dividing line. Those above that line are bachelors, and those below are specialists. In the second military academy, having the title of elite, I would also be nurtured as an officer. There wouldn't be too much of a difference in treatment. Luo Feng laughed. To become a bachelor, only 2 out of 10 people could do it. However, for a high school student, only 1 out of 1,000 people could achieve the title of elite. Yup, if you got the confidence, then that's great. However, Feng, don't give yourself too much pressure. Me and your mom just need a stable life. That's all. Luo Hongguo nodded his head slightly. This kid just gives himself too much pressure. Not at all. Luo Feng laughed. I don't really have much pressure. Since I'm young, I just have a bit more energy and motivation. Luo Feng says that out loud. But in his heart, Mom, Dad, brother, after my exams, you will soon be able to enjoy the good life. After I achieve the rank of fighter, you guys won't have to live so bitterly. Hurry and get the bowls and chopsticks and move the dishes onto the table. Dinner is ready. Gong Xinlan laughed and urged. Luo Hongguo laughed and stood up to get the bowls and chopsticks. The vegetables smell great. Luo Feng sniffed the pot and helped carry the dishes. I smell the smell of roasted meat, yay, Luo Hua shouted excitedly and moved his wheelchair towards the table. A family of 4, enjoying their time. After dinner, Luo Feng's mom and dad brought Luo Hua to walk outside, while Luo Feng went to tutor. Around 6 p.m., the sky was already about to become completely dark. This tutoring job will have to be on hold soon. Luo Feng was like a leopard, flexibly moving through the alleys. There was a dead end in front, but Luo Feng's entire body flew in the air. He jumped over 2 meters high, lightly tapping the top of the wall with his left hand, and fell into the next alley. Sprinting was his warm-up before tutoring. At this time, Luo Feng's speed was 15 meters per second, or 54 kilometers per hour, which wasn't even his top speed. However, it was able to serve its purpose as warm-up. Light panting. One more month until exams, and then I will be able to put tutoring on hold. I earned $20,000 during this half year of tutoring. Having the title of elite, it was easy for him to find a tutoring job, teaching someone the basics. The salary was $100 per hour. For 5 days a week, he taught for 1 hour a day. In other words, his monthly salary would be around $2,000. Dad works hard all day and only earns around $2,000 to $3,000 a month. I just tutor for an hour and earn so much more than him. This is the difference between a normal person and someone with a title. If I am able to become a fighter, then the difference would be shocking. Luo Feng looked ahead of him and saw a cargo truck blocking the road. However, Luo Feng didn't slow down at all. He suddenly jumped up to a height of 2 to 3 meters high and then ran 2 steps on the side of the wall. He then dropped back down and continued running forwards. After that, Luo Feng has already ran to the outer part of a quiet residential area. Here is where Mom and Dad should be living. Luo Feng stopped and eyed the area in front of him. The density of the homes in the area was lower, and there were man-made pools. There were tons of foliage, and every floor of each building had its own garden, even the higher floors. Other than the tall residential homes, there were also villas. Know that, as of now, there are a total of 6 major bases in China, which are the 6 major cities. Each city has an astonishingly large population. For example, Jiangnan City's population is nearly 200 million. Naturally, there is very little land. Things like villas are very rare and expensive. The large mansions that take up even more space cost an enormous amount of money. I'm going to number 18, one of the 18th building, said Luo Feng to the guardsman outside the area. Wait a moment, the guardsman pressed a video telephone number and shot the camera at Luo Feng. A voice from the video telephone said, "It's Feng, let him in." "All right, sir," the guardsman let him in. 1 hour later, Feng walked out the area. "Yep, done with tutoring. Now I'll go to the dojo and see if there has been any increase in my strength." The Dojo of Limits, the largest dojo on Earth created by the strongest fighter Hong. There are dojos scattered all around the world. Luo Feng entered the dojo after scanning his student identification card at the door. One Dojo of Limits is like an entrenched gigantic monster. The area it covers is even larger than a high school. The main gate of the dojo is big enough to let 10 cars in. Inside the dojo, there were 3 large silver-white structures with an airship-like style. Brother, asterisk. Asterisk, this brother is one used in respect, not blood-related. All the brothers for the rest of the chapter will be like this too. Greetings, brother. On the lawn of the interior of the dojo were large amounts of dojo members. These members saw Luo Feng's elite identification on his chest and respected him. Inside the dojo, the 3 structures were separated by level. 1 for the beginner members, 1 for the intermediate members, and 1 for the elite members. The elite member building's 1st and 2nd floors are large teaching halls, large enough to hold a few thousand people. The teachers of the dojo taught in this hall. There were around 30 to 40,000 members of this particular dojo. You can only become a member of the dojo starting from the age of 16. After the age of 30, you are prohibited from coming back to the dojo since you will be wasting valuable teaching resources. There were a couple hundred elite students, most being around 20 years old. However, Luo Feng was only 18. Greetings, brother. Luo Feng walked along as he heard people greet him. He entered the 3rd floor of the elite building, which only elite members could enter. The 3rd floor was a couple hundred meters long and wide, a large training center. At this time, there were a couple dozen people. Crazy asterisk. Asterisk, not the mad, kind of crazy. This is just a nickname incorporating the Feng of Luo Feng. Crazy equals Feng Z. Hey, come crazy? As he entered the large training center, all of the elite members warmly greeted him. Brother Wang, Brother Yang, Sister Li, Luo Feng happily shouted back. As he looked at these people, his heart warmed. These few dozen people were all over 20 years of age. Of course, the elite members of the Dojo of Limits of Jian section weren't just these people. In total, there were over 100 of them, but most of them were too lazy to come since there isn't a teacher to teach. The only people who would come to the training center are those who are poor and without anywhere else to train. The rich people all have their own individual training center. So, almost all of these people live in cheap rental homes. Since they are all categorized as poor people, they naturally formed a clique. Luo Feng's nickname of Crazy came from the time when he consecutively challenged and defeated 3 rich elite members out of anger. I wonder how much my strength improved from the last half-month of training. Luo Feng walked towards the fist strength tester machine at the corner of the training hall, where there were 2 of them side by side. Whether you were a beginner, intermediate, or an elite member, you had to test the strength of your punch. Even the test to become a fighter has strength asterisk tests. Asterisk all strength tests refer to fist strength. Luo Feng took in a deep breath and completely relaxed his body. Suddenly, his gaze concentrated. His body tensed like a lazy lion getting ready for action. His spine tensed like a bowstring. His feet supported his waist, which strengthened Luo Feng's right fist. His punch was like a cannonball, shooting across an arc. Duh! Luo Feng's fist smashed against the machine. The machine shook violently. Soon enough, a number appeared on the machine's screen, 809 kilograms, N/O/Vel/B/C//OM. Not bad, Crazy. Got past the 800 kilograms milestone, a man with a height taller than 1.9 meters who was a bit lean yet buff laughed and clapped. This buff man had a savage scar on his face. Brother Yang, Luo Feng laughed. When compared to you, this is nothing. Brother Yang, could you help me turn on the speed tester machine? Brother Yang, named Yang Wu, is currently ranked top 3 within the elite members in the Dojo of Limits. If it wasn't for his speed, he would have cleared the fighter preliminary exams a long time ago. For an elite member to become a fighter, he has to pass 2 exams. The first exam is the fighter fitness exam, or the prospective fighter exam. Once you pass that, you have proved that your fitness level has reached the standard of a fighter. At this time, you have become a prospective fighter. The second exam is a fighter combat exam. Just having the body fitness doesn't grant you the privilege of becoming a fighter. Only by defeating an actual monster in an actual fight will you be able to achieve the title of fighter. Testing speed? All right. Yang Wu laughed as he walked towards the machine and turned it on. Ka! The machine turned on and lighted up. Luo Feng adjusted his breathing and stood on the track, which was 60 meters long. Close to the speed testing machine was a speed testing region. Luo Feng exploded forwards. Whoosh! In a blink of an eye, Luo Feng has accelerated to his maximum speed. His feet pedaled with strength, increasing his sprinting power. His body was like an arrow leaving a bow and flying across the runway, bringing along with him a gust of wind. Luo Feng flew past the speed testing region. After that, he naturally slowed down and stopped. How fast? Luo Feng laughed as he walked towards the machine. Crazy. Looks like you improved a bit since last time. Not bad. Not bad, Brother Yang, with a face of astonishment, looked at the number displayed on the speed testing machine. Come look for yourself. Luo Feng looked over to the machine, and the number displayed was 23.8 meters per second. Not bad. Luo Feng wasn't that happy, though, since there were 3 parts to the fighter fitness exam, or the prospective fighter exam: strength, speed, and reaction speed. For reaction speed, Luo Feng was naturally gifted and has barely reached the level that a fighter requires. However, in the prospective fighter exam, the passing mark for strength is 900 kilograms. For speed, the passing mark is 25 meters per second, or 100 meters every 4 seconds. The stronger you get, the harder it is to improve, Luo Feng contemplated. For me to raise my speed from 23.8 meters per second to 25 meters per second would probably take around 1 year. For my strength to improve from 809 kilograms to 900 kilograms would probably take even longer. I would probably have to wait until after I get into college to achieve the title of fighter. If I enter a coma again, my body fitness level might reach what a fighter requires. Of course, this kind of coma isn't one you enter when someone beats you unconscious, but when you enter one from an extremely painful headache. Luo Feng has a headache disorder. Every so often Luo Feng gets a headache. However, he is usually able to bear with the pain until it passes. Occasionally, it would hurt so much that he would enter a coma. Luo Feng has entered a coma twice so far. When Luo Feng was 8 years old and his brother's legs were crushed by a car, he was so sad that he got a headache. At the same time, his heartbeat started to rapidly rise and his blood circulation speed rose to an alarming rate. Soon after he felt like his heart was about to beat out of his chest, he entered a coma. Another time was when Luo Feng was 12 years old and his mother was rehospitalized. Afraid of losing his mother, Luo Feng panicked and got an extremely painful headache. Like before, his heartbeat rapidly rose and he entered a coma. After 2 comas, Luo Feng's family frequently brought him to the hospital for checkups. However, no illness was identified. Even in this age, the brain is still a mystery to medicine. However, the 2 comas have increased my body's strength by many times Luo Feng anticipated. 8 years old, 12 years old, after I woke up from the comas, my strength, speed, and reaction speed clearly improved. Because of this, I was able to skip right past the intermediate exam in the dojo and achieve the intermediate title. Thanks to my genes, I was able to achieve the elite title at the age of 17-inch. If I enter a coma again, I bet my strength would increase even more. NOV LB //JNN. A coma is actually a symptom caused by your body to protect itself, so it isn't entirely a bad thing. My head would hurt until its limit, and my heartbeat would speed up until its limit. Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at the watch on his wrist. This watch had a pulse meter function. Even after sprinting like crazy, my heartbeat wouldn't go above 120 times a minute. Luo Feng watched his watch. If I can reach a rate of 200 times a minute, then that would be great. The premonitions of a coma is an extremely bad headache and a super high pulse. However, no matter how hard he exercised, he couldn't get his heartbeat to the rate which a coma would require. Within the dojo training hall, scar-faced Yang Wu stood in front of the fist strength tester machine. However, he didn't seem very serious. He simply punched the tester a few times with both hands. A repeated prung, pung, prung sounded as he punched the machine. Soon after that, a few numbers were displayed on the screen. 956 kilograms, 912 kilograms, 936 kilograms, 981 kg. Yang Wu punched a couple dozen times in one breath before stopping. Luo Feng, who was watching on the sidelines, couldn't help but admire. His full power could only amount to 809 kilograms, but Brother Yang could unleash a flurry of fists with such power. For all of them to just pass the 700 kilograms mark would already be plenty. Brother Yang, if only one of my full power punches could be as strong as one of your random ones, then that would be great. Luo Feng laughed. Yang Wu walked towards Luo Feng and laughed as he hit him on the shoulder. You're only 19 this year, or 18 right now. When I was your age, I was only an intermediate member. With the rate at which you're improving, you would achieve the body fitness level required for the rank of fighter within 2 years for sure. Heh, a 20-year-old fighter. How envious. Luo Feng laughed. The dojo only recruited students from age 16 to 30 because this is the period where one grows the fastest. This means that a person could enter the rankings more quickly and lead to even greater strength in the future. Luo Feng became an elite member at the age of 17, which many admired. Oh yeah, crazy, you got high school exams, right? What are you going to do after them? Yang Wu laughed. I will have to prepare for military academy. Luo Feng let out a small laugh. The average person becomes a basic level officer in the normal army. However, I should be able to get into the special forces after graduation without a problem. Yang Wu listened and curled his lip. Entering a military academy is good, but I feel like your freedom is limited there. After you graduate from the academy and enter the special forces, you'll have to follow all of the rules. I would never be able to handle that. A free fighter is great, Luo Feng nodded, but I wouldn't want my parents to worry. It is much safer to enroll in an academy, graduate, and then join the army than to become a free fighter. A fighter usually has 4 paths they can choose from. The first path, join the army and become a part of it. It's safer, and the country wouldn't easily let the fighter take risks. The country would also give the fighter's family many benefits, so the fighter would have no regrets. The second path, join a dojo. The restrictions of a dojo are broader, and the community is more loose. Since the Dojo of Limits was created by the strongest man on earth, Hong, there are quite a few benefits in becoming a fighter in that dojo. Since the administration isn't as strict, there is more freedom too. The third path: join a large business, some family, or some major political power, and become a thug. The fourth path: join the mercenary corps, which would endanger your life all the time. At the same time, it grants the most freedom out of all four paths. Note: a free fighter doesn't pertain to any of the above paths. Entering the army is safe, but I wouldn't want to live my days without any freedom. Yang W nodded. This year, I think I can pass the prospective fighter exam. After I pass, I'll immediately sign up for the fighter combat exam and work hard to become a fighter. Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Brother Yang, you're confident that you can pass the prospective fighter exam? Haha, Yang Wu laughed. I have reached the requirements for strength and reaction speed a long time ago. My weak point is speed. However, if I do well, I can barely reach 25 meters per second. I'll work hard these few days, and I should be able to pass the exam by the time I take it. Congratulations, Brother Yang. Luo Feng was happy for Brother Yang, since he worked so hard to become a fighter for so many years. Brother Yang, what will you do after you become a fighter? Of course I'd join the Dojo of Limits, Brother Yang laughed. The Dojo of Limits has a very loose system and is scattered all around the world. Many previous fighters improved themselves in these dojos. Also, when I feel like taking a break, I can go out and kill some monsters. Quite free if you ask me. Luo Feng nodded. Crazy. Yang Wu looked at Luo Feng. You're quite crazy inside your bones. I'm pretty sure that you are very suited to walk the path of a free fighter. Join a dojo. How free is that? And the Dojo of Limits would help us out a lot. Luo Feng hesitated. Yang Wu saw what was happening, shook his head, and laughed. Crazy. Free fighters frequently fight for their lives and train on the border between life and death. It's a bit more dangerous, but at the same time, because you are constantly fighting for your life, it's the fastest way to increase your strength. You see, no matter where, most of the strongest fighters are all free fighters. Nighttime, the streetlights shine. As Luo Feng leaves the Dojo of Limits, he reflects on his conversation with Yang Wu as he walks alone. There are actually only two paths that suit me, Luo Feng thought to himself. One is to enroll in the military academy, graduate, and then join the special forces. Next is to become a famous fighter in the Dojo of Limits, and then kill monsters freely. The safest out of these two paths is to enter the army. It's safer and benefits my family. Even if I die, the country would take good care of my loved ones. Becoming a free fighter and living on the border between life and death would increase my strength the fastest. I can exchange the monsters I kill for a huge sum of money. This path dangerous. Rapid increase in skill, quick money free, but the only drawback is the danger. Luo Feng contemplated. In fact, he has been thinking about this ever since he started his senior year of high school. My parents have 2 sons in total, and my younger brother is already handicapped. If I become a free fighter and die in battle, how will my parents survive? Luo Hua needs someone to take care of him. Mom and Dad are already quite old. If I die, what will happen to them? Guess I'll enroll in a military academy. After I join the special forces, I'll be able to learn militaristic martial arts which, combined with my ultimate martial arts from the Dojo of Limits, should increase my strength. In the army, I can also train myself. Even if I die, I'll die as a fighter, so my country would give my parents pension every month. After thinking about his parents, Luo Feng decided to pick the military academy. However, not just anybody can enter a military academy. Your grades have to meet the standard, so everything depends on June's exams. 1 month before the exams, Luo Feng put almost all of his concentration into reviewing. As he took his practice exams, his confidence started increasing. I easily have a 90% chance of getting into Jiangnan's #1 military academy. This was what Luo Feng thought. June 7th marks the beginning of exams. China's exams go from June 7th to 9th, which is the same time duration as before the Grand Nirvana period. Jian region's first high school. According to the rules, all of the exams will take place in this high school. Good luck, my daughter. No worries, Dad. Sweetie, don't pressure yourself too much. Outside of the high school's gates was a huge, dense mob made up of high school exam takers and their parents. Also standing outside the gates was a row of police holding real, loaded guns. Phone, be at ease as you take the exam. Even if you don't get into the top military academy, the runner-up is just as fine. So relax. Luo Hongguo looked at his son and laughed. Okay, Luo Feng smiled and nodded his head. DRIP followed a loud car. The car was completely black and had the aura of an aristocrat. It was the newest sprinting S600 and had many police vehicles guarding it. As it approached the gate, the surrounding people made way for it, their gazes all focusing on that one car. The newest sprinting S600 only needed a mere 6 seconds to accelerate to 100 kilometers per hour. Its maximum speed could reach up to 500 kilometers per hour. Of course, this alone isn't much. That sprinting S600 is a brand carried from the Grand Nirvana period. In other words, its history is what makes it so attractive. Only 3 people came out of the car, and they happily talked with each other as they walked towards the gate. The baldy on the left is the chief of police in our Jiang region. The guy on the right is the Board of Education's head Lu. The one in the middle must be the fighter responsible for making sure the testing areas are safe. Among the people watching, there is no doubt that most of the gazes landed upon the man in the middle. Their gazes were full of respect, excitement, and curiosity. As of now, the fight between man and beast is still going on. The average person is prohibited from leaving the city's borders. However, fighters are the existence able to fight one-on-one against a beast. The entire human society is thankful towards them, thanking their hard work and contribution towards humanity. The average person naturally praises them. The fighters are the superhuman group of humanity. So that's a fighter. Luo Hongguo was also looking at that man. Every time there's an exam, the responsibility of the safety of the grounds almost always falls upon the fighters. Fighter. Luo Feng looked over. The fighter had an aura that made your heart beat faster. His eyes were like a poisonous snake in a cold forest. He didn't even smile once as he walked towards the chief of police and head Lu. He just slightly nodded his head at times. Clearly, he was too lazy to bother with them. Not too far in the future, I'll also achieve the rank of fighter. Luo Feng thought to himself. Ka. The high school's large gate slowly opened. Immediately, a burst of sound came out. It's time to enter. Feng, it's time to go in. Hurry and enter, Luo Hong was said right after. Gong Xianlan also said, hurry and go. Mom will return home and make food for you. Your dad and brother will wait here until you finish your exam. n/o/vel/b/and.c//om. Okay. Luo Feng smiled and nodded his head. Brother Luo Hua sat on his wheelchair and raised his fist. Do your best, Luo Hua said, smiling. I'll do my best. Luo Feng also raised his fist. As Luo Feng turned his head, everyone headed towards the gate and went through an inspection one by one. Inside the testing classroom, your examination certificate and ID are placed on the top right of your table for the examiner to inspect. After that, the tests were passed down. Year 2056 Jiangnan City High School Science Exam version of the clearest line at the top of the page. The first round is Science. Luo Feng scanned the test in front of him until he reached the final few large problems at the end. As if he has seen them before, Luo Feng thought to himself, these problems aren't that difficult. If these aren't difficult enough, my advantage in science would be hard to demonstrate. I guess I can only focus and make sure I don't lose any points at all. Luo Feng immediately buried his head and started writing. There are 3 exams in the high school exam: Science, Liberal Arts, and Mathematics. Each exam is worth 250 points, leading to a total of 750 points possible. Science refers to physics, chemistry, and biology. Liberal arts refers to language, history, politics, and geography. Mathematics naturally refers to just math. Humanity after the Grand Nirvana period, especially during their battle with the monsters, desperately tried to advance in technology and increase their martial arts skill. Because of this, everyone realized the importance of mathematics. Anyone planning to achieve in the fields of computer science biology, and physics needs to have a strong foundation in mathematics. So, mathematics became more important in education. Luo Feng was a bit weak in liberal arts, but had an immense advantage in mathematics. June 7th, science exams. June 8th, liberal arts exams. In a blink of an eye, it's already June 9th. Inside the testing classroom, the mathematics exam has just been passed down. All that's left is this mathematics exam. Luo Feng took in a deep breath. The science exam wasn't too hard, so I should have done pretty well on that. I also performed normally on my liberal arts exam. In other words, my grades for those two tests should be what I usually get. As long as I don't mess up on this mathematics exam, I can get into Jiangnan's #1 military academy for sure. I can do this. After encouraging himself, Luo Feng lowered his head and started the exam. There was absolute silence throughout the classroom. Many of the students' eyebrows started to wrinkle, which showed that the problems were quite difficult. Every year's high school mathematics exam problems are never easy, as these are the problems that pick out the people to advance humanities technology. This is pretty hard. Even Luo Feng felt the difficulty, even harder than last year's problems. However, the harder the better. If the problems were easy, those worse than Luo Feng at math would probably be able to get around 220 points. Luo Feng would only be able to get around 230 points, so his advantage isn't really demonstrated. However, if the problems are hard, Luo Feng would probably be able to score around 210 points, while those worse than him would only be able to manage around 150 points. In this case, Luo Feng's advantage is clearly shown. PA. A breaking sound was heard. The examiner immediately looked towards the sound's direction, but it was a student who broke his ballpoint pen in his hand. This student wrinkled his eyebrow and clenched his teeth. As he stared at his exam, it was clear that it was much too difficult. After that, he threw his broken pen aside and took out another one, continuing his exam. From the students' faces, I can tell that this year's mathematics exam is really difficult, the examiner thought to himself. Indeed, essentially every single person in the room had wrinkled eyebrows and were in deep, bitter thought. Many students were so nervous that tears started falling. Students whose mathematics ability were already poor could only think, "Can't do this problem, can't do that problem, still can't do this third problem." The students were on the verge of collapse as they looked at this kind of exam. 1 hour later, testing classroom. The time duration for the mathematics exam is 2.5 hours. At this time, Luo Feng has already finished the multiple choice and fill-in-the-blank questions. All that's left are the calculation problems. In the mathematics exam, the multiple choice and fill-in-the-blank problems only added up to 90 points. The calculation problems, 5 large problems, added up to 160 points. Only these types of problems were able to clearly demonstrate the student's mathematics ability. This is really difficult. I couldn't even solve 2 of the fill-in-the-blank problems. Luo Feng took in a deep breath. Below are the calculation problems. This is where the most points are. Solving just 1 more would give 40 more points. Out of the 5 calculation problems, 4 of them are worth 30 points, while the last one is worth 40 points. Luo Feng was already faced with a challenge as he looked at the first calculation problem. Luo Feng kept thinking and calculating on his scrap paper. Yes, change this part by a bit, reverse that, and now wouldn't I be able to change that to the way I want? A light flashed in Luo Feng's eyes. Right. If you just think about it, this problem is actually quite easy to solve. Luo Feng easily finished the entire problem in one breath and then double-checked his work. Yep, first problem done. Luo Feng looked at his watch on his left wrist and his heart jumped. The first problem took me 20 minutes. I need to pick up the pace. Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at the second problem. After looking at it for a bit, Luo Feng felt that it was easy and started calculating on his scrap paper. Not right. Luo Feng felt like he wasn't thinking in the right direction and wrinkled his eyebrow. As time passed, Luo Feng kept working at this problem. Yeah, it should be this way. But how would I prove the next proof? Luo Feng's brain was working rapidly. Hurry, I can't waste too much time on this problem. How on earth can I prove this? Luo Feng nervously thought. At this time, On Luo Feng's watch, the pulse numbers started rising. 120, 125, 130, 140, 150. I'm almost there. Just this proof, and I can earn 30 points. How do I even solve this part? Luo Feng was getting increasingly nervous. You must manage your time wisely in tests, but each mathematics calculation problem was worth a lot of points. Every high school student that wants to score, well, can't miss too many of these problems. At this time, Luo Feng was too focused on his test to notice his pulse meter. 160, 170, 180. Luo Feng felt his pulse increasing, but thought that it was due to anxiety and didn't pay it much attention. Thump, thump, thump. Luo Feng suddenly felt like someone was pounding on his heart. His vision started getting hazy, and he finally realized, what's wrong with me? Why does my heart hurt so much? Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at his pulse meter displayed on his watch. 230. This number changed the entire color of Luo Feng's face. Ever since he entered a coma at 12 and bought this watch, he has never seen his heart rate go over 180. I can't take this. Luo Feng felt as if his heart was going to beat out of his chest. His blood was surging as his heart rate increased, and an indescribable amount of energy flowed into the depths of Luo Feng's brain. Pain flowed from his brain. Luo Feng couldn't hold his voice in anymore. This student, do you have a problem? The examiner ran towards Luo Feng and looked at him surprisingly. Luo Feng at this time looked like he was about to bleed. His forehead and arms' veins were bursting and even beating along with his heart. His entire body looked hideous. No, slow down. Luo Feng had a bad feeling of what was to come and was screaming in his thoughts, staring at his watch. 236, 242, 251. Thump, thump, thump. His heart, like a huge drum, let out waves of a low sound. His blood continuously surged. In his hazy vision, Luo Feng saw the number 268, and the pain in his head caused him to collapse. As he was losing consciousness, he heard, this student, wake up, wake up. The bustling students all left the exam area. Year 2056, Jiangnan City's high school exams are officially over. All the students have to do now is to await their results, which will be released in 1 week. How by a balding, middle-aged man who seemed refined was standing outside the gate, smiling towards his son. Dad, Zhang Haobai laughed as he went towards him. How'd you do? The middle-aged man laughed. Zhang Haobai shook his head and said helplessly, I couldn't demonstrate all of my skill, but the math problems were really hard. The multiple choice, fill in the blanks, and the calculation problems all had many difficult problems, especially the calculation ones. There were 5 of them, but I could only solve 2. For the other 3, I could only do my best at solving parts of them. According to the procedure, I should still be able to receive some points for that. Oh! Zhang Haobai's dad, Zhang Zilong, frowned. So it seems like your math grade is going to be a bit low. No problem, Dad. It was hard for everyone, not just me. Zhang Haobai laughed. The math problems were all a bit harder, so I'm sure that the points required for passing will be lowered. I should be able to get into a military academy without a problem. Oh yeah. Zhang Zilong laughed. Before, when we were waiting for your exam to finish, something happened. Your school's famous Luo Feng student fainted inside the exam hall an hour before the end. Fainted in the exam hall? Zhang Haobai's widened his eyes. Dad, you mean Luo Feng? Yeah, that Luo Feng guy was carried away by an ambulance. Many people saw the event occur. Zhang Zilong nodded his head. If you listen, many of the surrounding parents are telling their children of this event. Luo Feng fainted? Zhang Haobai looked around and listened closely. There were indeed many families talking about a student who fainted during testing. He also clearly heard many people mention the name Luo Feng. Haha, even this penniless bum has these kinds of days. Ha! Zhang Haobai couldn't hold his laughter back. Dad, although you don't know this person always causes trouble for me in school, Zhang Haobai furiously added. He is more stronger than me and more skilled than me in everything. Even this guy has these kinds of days. Zhang Haobai was delighted, for his anger towards Luo Feng was immense. In truth, Luo Feng never even bothers with this Zhang Haobai. It's just that Zhang Haobai keeps treating Luo Feng as an opponent. Since Luo Feng's grades and martial arts skills are all greater than has naturally made him suffer. This guy has never seen the real world and was under too much psychological pressure. He couldn't handle it and collapsed. Ignore him. Go. Your uncle knows your exams ended today and organized a banquet just for you. Let's go. Zhang Zilong laughed. Uncle? Zhang Haobai's eyes flashed. The only reason the Jiang family is able to prosper in the Jian region is thanks to his uncle, because his uncle is a fighter. No way. There is absolutely no way. Wei Wen, who just left the exam hall, panicked in front of his parents. How could Feng collapse in the exam hall? He collapsed from nervousness? Impossible. Luo Feng's psychological qualities has even been praised by the dojo of limits instructors before. Wei Wen and Luo Feng were true brothers, even if not by blood. There is no mistaking it. We saw this event unfold before our very eyes. That Luo Feng's father and his handicapped brother panicked in the moment and went to the hospital. Wei Wen's father followed. Hospital? It should be the nearest one. Dad, Mom, I'm gonna go check on Luo Feng. I'll eat lunch later. Without delay, Wei Wen handed his test materials to his parents and ran towards the hospital. Inside Jian Region's People's Hospital, Luo Feng was forcing a smile as he walked outside the hospital's main gate with his father and brother. At this time, Luo Hongguo and Luo Hua were worried that Luo Feng wouldn't be able to handle the shock. Dad, I'm fine. Let's go home and eat. Luo Feng seemed calm, but only regrets filled his heart. However, Luo Feng knew that the past cannot be changed, so all you can do is accept it. Feng! A sound came from far away. Luo Feng turned towards the source and saw a small shadow far away running towards the hospital's main gate. It was his good brother Wei Wen. Luo Feng was moved by the sight of Wei Wen. He ran so hastily that his shirt was drenched with sweat. How hard were the last 3 calculation problems on the mathematics portion? Luo Feng wasn't able to complete the last 3 problems, so if they were extremely difficult and many people couldn't do them, then his grades would still have some hope. Pretty hard, Wei Wen nodded. This year's math problems were all very hard. Out of the 5 calculation problems, the third one was a bit easier, but the other 4 were all hard. Luo Feng let out a breath. He still had a sliver of hope. At 8 p.m. on June 16th, you can check your exam grade through the phone or internet, and the dividing line asterisk will also come out too. June 16th, around 7 p.m., Luo Feng's home. Only Luo Feng was in the room that belonged to both Luo Feng and Luo Hua. He was sitting in front of his laptop and refreshing the webpage again and again. The exam results come out at 8 p.m., but usually they release it a bit earlier. I'm afraid I can't get into Jiangnan's #1 military academy. However, I finished the multiple choice, fill in the blank, and the first 2 problems on the calculation section on the mathematics portion. Even though I didn't complete the second problem, I wrote quite a few steps, which should earn me some points, Luo Feng thought to himself. If I'm lucky, I should be able to earn around 120 points on the mathematics portion. Luo Feng anticipated. I perform normally on the liberal arts and science sections. If I'm lucky, I should be able to become a bachelor. If I can just reach the dividing line, I can get into the #2 military academy. Between the 2 academies, the first one is clearly better. However, a very high score is required, so Luo Feng already gave up on that. However, there is still a bit of hope left for the #2 military academy. Luo Feng's eyes flashed. The exam result webpage actually displayed something 557 points. The dividing line is 561 points. Luo Feng took a deep breath. Just 4 points? Just because of these 4 points, I lost my chance of going to a military academy. I can't believe 12 years of studying led to this. If I can't go to a military academy, then so be it. There's no big deal. Luo Feng focused his gaze and formed his right hand into the shape of a blade. He then made a horizontal cut into the space in front of him. Because of the hand's speed, the air violently trembled and shook. Thanks to this time's coma, my strength has greatly increased. Maybe my current body fitness has reached the level required to be a fighter. I might be able to pass the prospective fighter exam. It wouldn't be a problem even if I'm off by a bit. If I just seriously and bitterly train for 1 or 2 months, I should be able to pass the prospective fighter exam. Luo Feng's adaptability ability is very high. His exam scores didn't make it to the dividing line, which shocked him. However, the coma increased his strength, which made him confident again. After all, a military academy graduate's position is far from a fighter's. Luo Feng opened the door and entered the living room. In the living room, Luo Hongguo, Gong Xianlan, and Luo Hua all turned their heads. All three of them were concerned. Gong Xianlan even stood up and walked towards Luo Feng. Feng, we can't blame you for your score. We can only blame your disease. Sigh. How could this disease start acting up now? It hasn't acted up for so many years. Brother, Yuan in shock are you? Luo Hua sat on his wheelchair, making fun on purpose. When Luo Feng was inside his room, checking his grades, the rest of the family used Luo Hua's laptop to check Luo Feng's results and learned of the 4-point difference. Although they were a bit disappointed, they were more worried about Luo Feng himself. Luo Feng laughed. Of course I'm not in shock. Dad, Mom, don't blame this disease. In fact, we should even be thankful. 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 Luo Hongguo, Gong Xianlan, and Luo Hua were all shocked. High school exams are one of the most important events of one's life. Now that Luo Feng's exams were ruined by the disease, how could anyone be grateful towards it? Dad, Mom, while Luo Feng smiled a little, when I was small, I had 2 comas and fainted. In fact, after I woke up from those comas, I felt like my strength increased by a large amount and am able to run faster. This time is also the same. I feel like my fitness level is way greater than it was previously, and I estimate that I can pass the prospective fighter exam. What? Luo Hongguo, Gong Xianlan, and Luo Hua exchanged glances. Brother, are you serious? Luo Hua couldn't hold back. Of course I am. Luo Feng smiled a bit. After I pass the prospective fighter exam, I'll be able to apply for the fighter combat exam. I am quite confident in my combat abilities. I might even be able to achieve the rank of fighter this year. Luo Hongguo, Gong Xianlan, and Luo Hua were overawed by this piece of news. A fighter. What does that represent? It represents the most powerful group of humanity. It represents special privileges and rights. It represents a ton of money. It represents those at the top of the social hierarchy. And after you become a fighter, it'll bring along many benefits to your family. It is much better than becoming an elite student at a military academy. A fighter is going to come from our family? Luo Hua couldn't help yelling. Haha, brother, you're awesome. Phone great. Luo Hongguo also excitedly patted Luo Feng's shoulder. Becoming a fighter is great. Compared to a fighter, what's so good about a military academy graduate? As of now, all the fighters on Earth are praised and exalted in society. Seeing how his parents and brother were so happy, Luo Feng laughed. Dad, Mom, we can't be too happy before I actually pass the exam. An 18-year-old fighter? Luo Hua couldn't help but excitedly shout. If my brother really becomes an 18-year-old fighter, then that would be too. Awesome. Times. The day after that, 5 a.m., the sky was bright. NOVLB //JNN. Luo Feng has just left home and was headed towards the dojo of limits. There's barely anyone here at this time. Luo Feng entered the dojo and found that the entire dojo's lawn and road had about just 100 people. There are about 30 to 40,000 members total. The dojo instructor only teaches at night, so nighttime is when there are the most people. Luo Feng headed towards the elite members building on the road. Rumble. A low sound wave carried over. Luo Feng unknowingly turned his head and saw an elegant, white race car. As it slowly entered the dojo, Luo Feng looked carefully and couldn't help but to take in a breath. Aston Martin's race car? And it's even the newest and most expensive one with the ability to fly. THR 191. His brother really loved race cars. At home, he heard Luo Hua praise this THR 191. It's an Aston Martin. It's even a 191. This one can fly within the dojo. The few students scattered around were all lured towards this area. This one car cost $36 million. Right at this time, The race car stopped in front of the elite members' building's gate. The door opened, and a short, red-haired, clearly dyed man wearing a loose dojo practice uniform walked out. His eyes randomly scanned the surroundings. He looked right past the regular dojo students but paused slightly on Luo Feng. However, without saying anything, he entered the building. "It's a fighter," Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Luo Feng could feel the pressure from the fighter's gaze. This is a gaze that has a will of steel and has experienced many fights to the death. The spacious dojo training hall was empty. Not a single person was there. It was only around 5 a.m. Even at night, there usually wouldn't be more than 20 people. "I want to see how much my strength has increased." Luo Feng walked over and plugged in the fist strength tester machine. After turning it on, he turned on the speed tester machine that was far away. Standing in front of the fist strength tester machine, "Begin!" Luo Feng took in a deep breath. He used his waist as the center, which released his power. It shot through his body like a huge python and created an explosive force through his arm. His fist was like a lightning bolt, and suddenly a pung sound was created on the machine. Di. The fist strength tester machine let out 3 sounds consecutively. Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Usually, the machine doesn't make this kind of sound. The only time it makes this sound is under one situation: the fist strength has surpassed 1,000 kilograms. Luo Feng stared at the machine's display. 1089 kg. So high. Luo Feng was ecstatic. The fist strength required for a fighter was 900 kilograms. His previous fist strength was 809 kilograms. And now it shot up to 1,089 kilograms, gaining 280 kilograms all of a sudden. Far more than enough to pass. Luo Feng excitedly punched like lightning, shaking his entire body left and right. The pung sounds kept going. As if blinking an eye, Luo Feng already punched around 20-something times. And the machine's display showed a bunch of numbers scrolling across: 956 kg, 989 kilograms, 923 kilograms, 965 kg. "Now I'll test my speed." Luo Feng headed towards the track. "As long as my speed passes, along with my naturally gifted reaction speed, which was already qualified for a fighter, then I can definitely pass the prospective fighter exam." Luo Feng adjusted his breathing. Whoosh! His body was like a cannonball, flying through the track. 4th floor of the elite members building. A red-haired man was talking and walking side by side with a bald, middle-aged man wearing a black shirt. "Yin Luo, how long has it been since our last meeting?" The middle-aged man smiled slightly. "Probably almost 3 years. That immature kiddo from back then became this famous. I heard this time you earned nearly 100 million. Ho ho. When I look at you, I feel like I'm old." "That was all luck," the red-haired man laughed. "Brother Jiang, back then." D. A weak sound came from a lower floor, which shocked and surprised the two men. The fist strength tester machine downstairs is for beginners. Once 1,000 kilograms is reached, it makes this sound, the bald middle-aged man said surprisingly. "There's even someone practicing here at 5 a.m. Since it's over 1,000 kilograms, could it be that Yang Wu? Wouldn't we know if we went down to look?" Who? One black shirt and one white shirt. These two people were like phantoms that flew down the staircases. In a blink of an eye, they went from the 4th floor to the 3rd floor's training hall's entrance. The black shirt wearing, bald middle-aged man and the white shirt wearing, red-haired man looked inside the training hall. At this time, Luo Feng was standing in front of the track and soon flew past. 28.1 meters per second, the bald middle-aged man and the red-haired man both saw the number displayed on the speed tester machine. This Luo Feng, strength over 1,000 kilograms and an incredible speed of 28.1 meters per second, the bald middle-aged man was shocked. "Brother Jiang, this guy seems quite young. He seems to already have reached the fitness level required for a fighter," the red-haired man said, astonished. The bald middle-aged man nodded. "Yeah, his name is Luo Feng. He is one of the more gifted students in our dojo. He just had his 18th birthday this year." 18? So young. The red-haired man's eyes flashed. At this time, Luo Feng was shocked at who he saw at the entrance. The red-haired man is the fighter who came in his race car, while the bald middle-aged man is this dojo of limits master, Jiang, who has the most power and authority. According to the dojo's rules, every student calls him instructor. Instructor, Luo Feng yelled in greeting. Come here, Instructor Jiang laughed. I can't believe you're so fast. You've already reached what is required for a fighter. Let me introduce you. This is your senior, Yin Luo. Yin Luo, there's no problem with telling him your name, right? Nope. Yin Luo looked at Luo Feng and nodded. This young man has already reached the fitness requirement for a fighter at such a young age. Maybe, in the future, we'll have some sort of interaction. Jiang Yin looked towards Luo Feng and laughed. Luo Feng, since you're 18, you must have taken your high school exams right. Ignore the results of that. What's the point of going to school? Just focus on taking the prospective fighter exam. Oh yeah, on July 1st, go to Tangyangzhou City's Dojo of Limits to take your prospective fighter exam. With your current strength, you'll pass easily. High school exams? Yin Luo laughed. Don't waste your time in college. You have nice talent. No matter what you do, you must put your all into it. Right now, you must put all of your concentration in martial arts. Kiddo, when you become a fighter, join our Dojo of Limits. You'll have a future by doing so. These two fighters all held extremely high positions. The rich and the politicians of society were nothing to them. They were looking forward to young Luo Feng joining their ranks. Different types of currencies are starting to be mentioned, so I'll write them out from now on. The ones that have been mentioned so far are Earth dollars and Chinese dollars. A ping is 3.3 SQ meters. Yin Luo is right. Jiang Yin looked at Luo Feng and said earnestly, Luo Feng, you improve at a very fast speed. In our Jian region's Dojo of Limits, you are probably the quickest learner as of now. You entered my Dojo of Limits at the age of 16. Now you're 18, and you have already reached the boundary of a fighter. If you go to college and waste your energy there, waste 4 of your years there, then that would truly be a crime. You must know that you improve the quickest from age 16 to age 30. The older you get, the harder it gets, Jiang Yin said seriously. The 4 years of college are indeed the easiest period for a fighter to train himself. Wasting these 4 years to study, from a fighter's point of view, is indeed a big sin. Luo Feng was a bit stunned. God, it looks like my exam failure wasn't so bad after all. Luo Feng, when you officially become a fighter, how about you join my Dojo of Limits? Jiang Yin smiled. As long as you become a fighter for my dojo, I'll arrange a special private villa just for you. Of course, you can't sell it. You'll also have a salary of at least 20,000 Chinese dollars per month. A private villa just for me? A starting salary of 20,000 Chinese dollars. Luo Feng took a breath. 20,000 wasn't much, but a private villa was way too extravagant. As of now, China has only 6 human headquarters in total. In other words, 6 major cities. Land is extremely valuable and precious, so a villa would have an extremely high tax imposed on it. 1 ping in a regular home would cost tens to hundreds of thousands. This led to many people living in cheap rental homes. Regular homes are already so expensive. A ping in a villa or mansion would cost a couple $100,000 Chinese dollars. And private villas, as of now, are all restricted by countries. You can't just live in them with money alone. You must have money, power, and a special position to be able to live in one. Considering the gigantic tax, 1 ping in private villa would cost millions. A small private villa would be around 300 ping, which is easily 200 to 300 million. Luo Feng held his breath, even though I'm not allowed to sell it. But for a family to live in that private villa would make being born on this world worth it. 2 or 3 billion. So what? Zhang Haobai's father, a tycoon, probably would never be able to live in a private villa like this. Luo Feng, my dojo's privileges aren't too different from the country's special forces. Jiang Yin laughed. The special forces fighters have a decent salary and special homes. The only thing they have that we don't is a killing license, which allows them to kill any regular person if the situation calls for it. Of course, they aren't allowed to just randomly kill people, for they still have report the situation to the higher-ups. Killing license? Luo Feng heard of it before, that the special forces fighters have the right to kill someone. However, Our dojo also has special rights. If any regular person messes with you, you can report it to the dojo. After the dojo's investigators confirm the situation, they'll go through the Jiang security department and immediately bring that person away. Jiang laughed. If you join our dojo, you'll have money, position, everything. You can chase towards the limits of humanity all you want. The dojo of limits. Jiang pointed to Yin Luo beside him. This is my disciple, Yin Luo, who just recently killed a monster and earned nearly 100 million Earth dollars for it. If you convert it, then that'll be around 300 million Chinese dollars. If you work hard, with your talent, I'm sure reaching his level is not impossible. Luo Feng was dumbfounded. My gosh, just by killing one monster would net you so much money? Just what level of a monster did he kill? Luo Feng, keep working hard. You're truly talented, so don't disappoint. Jiang smiled and patted Luo Feng's shoulder. Kiddo, no matter what, don't relax, for I believe that you have a chance to become a warrior-level fighter. At that time, money, position, beauties, you'll have everything. Yin Luo laughed a bit. At that time, I'll be glad to go hunt some monsters with you. Huh? After saying that, the two fighters Jiang and Yin Luo laughed as they left. Luo Feng was standing in the training hall, his thoughts in a mess. No matter if it was instructor Jiang or the mysterious red-haired youth Yin Luo, Luo Feng could feel some sort of recklessness in their laughs and talks. Some sort of wildness. Recklessness, wildness. A smile started to emerge on Luo Feng's face. Yeah, men should be reckless on this world and create their own path. The strongest fighter on earth said before, a soldier who doesn't want to become a general is not a good soldier. A fighter who doesn't want to become the best fighter doesn't have the heart of a fighter. What's the point of living your life with your hands and feet tied? You should create a sky-shaking, earth-shattering way for yourself. 18 years old is when the value of your life starts to stabilize. After meeting instructor Jiang and the mysterious fighter Yin Luo, Luo Feng's thoughts completely changed. I'll do it. The strongest fighter, Hong, the second strongest Thunder Lord, created the Dojo of Limits and the Thunder Dojo, respectively. Even the 5 great countries have to treat them as equals. If they can do it, then couldn't a third person do it too? Luo Feng smiled as he walked out the training hall. Boys have dreams, so go chase them. Youth is your capital. Youth represents the infinite possibilities that the future holds. Everything depends on your own hard work, fight. Times. June 28th, noon, bright sky. Luo Feng and Wei when we're walking towards the 3rd high school. Today is graduation day, where they receive their graduation diplomas and acceptance application forms. Feng, are you sure you can pass the prospective fighter exam? Wei Wen couldn't help but to exclaim. Yep, on July 1st, I'll go to Yangzhou City's Dojo of Limits headquarters Limit Hall to take my exam. Luo Feng smiled. In front of them was school. Luo Feng looked at the school yard ahead of him and saw a bunch of students. As he looked, he felt like his attitude has changed. I used to think of myself as one of them, but now I feel like we're in 2 different worlds. They will go to college, work hard in their job, and have a family. But my path is different from theirs. Luo Feng and Wei Wen entered the school and split up to their respective classes. Walking in the school hallway. Brother. Luo Feng brother, a few other senior students warmly greeted Luo Feng. I heard that when Luo Feng was taking his high school exam, he fainted in the exam room. That's too bad. Fainting in the exam room, a bunch of people looking at Luo Feng from afar were discussing in a quiet voice. Luo Feng's fitness level has already reached the level of a fighter. His excellent hearing allowed him to hear every word of the students' discussions. Senior 5 class is Luo Feng's class. Luo Feng's here. Brother Luo, there were quite a few students already there, and they all warmly gave their greetings. Luo Feng laughed and nodded. Most of these old students have a decent relationship with Luo Feng, but some of them dislike Luo Feng. They act warm, but there are still some old students in a corner quietly discussing. Luo Feng's grades were so good, and he's an elite member. Who could have thought that such a thing would happen? Fainting in the exam hall. Such bad luck. This is life. Who can you blame? In the past, Luo Feng was the class's most favored person. Good grades and skilled in martial arts. Now that such a thing has happened to this genius, many of the ordinary students will have a moment of happiness. Even though they are in a decent relationship with Luo Feng, humans feel happy when they see someone who was so brilliant in the past fall down. Thinking even you have these kinds of days. Handing out diplomas, and acceptance application forms. Everyone come get them. The 3 class officers held the diplomas and application forms and walked toward the podium. Wang Yi, Lu Xiaolong. The officers yelled everyone's names one by one and handed out the diplomas and application forms. Luo Feng. Following this sound, the entire classroom became silent. Virtually everyone's gazes landed upon Luo Feng. Everyone knew that Luo Feng fainted in his exams. All you need to know to find Luo Feng's grades is his ID and examination certificate, which aren't a secret. Students have checked his grades long ago and knew that he missed the dividing line by 4 points. Luo Feng, class officer Chu Lin, handed the diploma and acceptance form to him. Feng, let's go. Wei Wen was standing in front of the class entrance. Wait for me. Luo Feng easily rolled up the acceptance form and threw it into the trash. The originally loud class immediately quieted down. Every student in the class froze. This is the acceptance form you fill in after exams. Who would dare throw that away? At this time, a Mackay band girl yelled out of shock. Luo Feng, how could you throw that away? You aren't going to fill in your acceptance form? How could Luo Feng become a specialist? I guess he's going to redo a year and take the exam again next year. Discussions and debates immediately fired up. n/o/vel/b/and .c//om. Wei Wen, who was standing at the entrance, glared. Become a specialist? Redo? You guys can figure this out. Feng is going to take the prospective fighter exam. Why take some bullshit specialist class or even redo? Don't say so much. Let's go. Luo Feng pulled Wei Wen and left with him. The students all said at once, what? Prospective fighter exam? Luo Feng's going to take the prospective fighter exam? For real? He isn't that good, is he? I guess that Wei Wen was just bluffing. Luo Feng just became an elite member last year. How could he take the prospective fighter exam this year? Subconsciously, none of the students were willing to believe that Luo Feng has achieved the fitness level of a fighter. A fighter. That is a supernatural existence. Dad, Mom, I'm going to the city's dojo of limits, so I might not come back to eat lunch today. Luo Feng stood up after drinking a large bowl of gruel and eating 3 pieces of bread. Just wait today for my good news today. After I pass the exam, I'll call right away. Gong Xianlong laughed and then glanced at Luo Honghua. Honghua, did you hear that? You better have your cell phone on you at all times, or Luo Feng might not even be able to contact you. I'll be sure to bring my cell phone. Luo Honghua laughed. Okay, I'm leaving now. Luo Feng winked at Luo Hua, who laughed and gave a thumbs up in return. Times. Early in the morning, Luo Feng left the small southern shore region and rode the number 11 subway line to Zhong'an Road Station, and then transferred to Yangzhou City Center region. After leaving the subway station, he walked for 10 minutes before arriving at Yangzhou's dojo of Limit's headquarters Limit Hall. Luo Feng left home at around 6 a.m. By the time he arrived, it was already almost 8 a.m. This is the legendary Mingyue sector? Luo Feng stood in front of the huge door in the quiet sector. This sector's name is Mingyue sector and is where the Limit Hall is located. This is the Mingyue sector. Don't come close. Just at the small sector's entrance, there was a row of 6 soldiers wearing their uniforms and holding real guns and ammo. You can tell from one look at their uniforms that they aren't part of the police, but part of the army. One of the soldiers shouted, "Sir, please stand back. Once you enter the yellow-lined area, we have the right to shoot and kill you on the spot." Just like the legends, Luo Feng thought to himself in his heart. Mingyue sector in Yangzhou is where the dojo of Limit's headquarters is located. Not only is the Limit Hall here, but also many fighters' homes. According to the rumors, the people that live here are the fighters and their families. Even the police don't have the right to come in as they please. Luo Feng marveled in his heart. Everyone Luo Feng stood at the small sector's entrance and spoke. I am the Dojo of Limits elite member Luo Feng. I came here today to take the Prospective Fighter exam. The Limit Hall holds the Prospective Fighter exam on the first day of every month. Oh! From the guardsman's lounge, an old, bald man walked out with a computer in his hand. Young man, you came quite early. It isn't even 8 a.m. yet. Taking the Prospective Fighter exam at such a young age, your future is limitless. Okay, let me check your ID and elite member ID. Luo Feng handed them over. Beep. N/O/vel/B//J/C//OM. A message came up on the computer's display after scanning the identifications. 18 years old? This old, bald man looked at Luo Feng in shock and then laughed. Brave enough to take the Prospective Fighter exam at 18 years old. Not bad. I hope you pass it today. Thank you, sir, Luo Feng replied. Let him in. The old, bald man waved his hand. The small sector's electronic door opened automatically. At this time, a soldier holding an assault rifle stepped forward and followed Luo Feng. Sir, I will bring you to the Dojo of Limits. After you enter the sector, please do not run around. You only have the right to enter the Limit Hall and not the fighters' homes. If you break this rule, even if I don't make a move, the people patrolling the area will. This soldier even sneered at Luo Feng while telling him this. Of course, Luo Feng slightly smiled and nodded, but was surprised inside. There indeed was a cooperative relationship between the country and the Dojo of Limits. At least the core of the Dojo of Limits will be heavily protected and guarded. Wow! Every building is a private villa. Luo Feng looked around. Except for the center of the sector, which was the large, tall Limit Hall tower, everywhere else was a private villa. Between the villas were fake mountains, pools, and lawns. Times. Mingyue sector, inside the Limit Hall. Right when Luo Feng stepped inside the lobby of the Limit Hall, the soldier went back. Sir, are you here to take the Prospective Fighter exam? Inside the hall, a beautiful young woman smiled. Sir, please sit over there. When it's 10 a.m., take the exam with the others. Luo Feng nodded and towards the side of the lobby. There was a small bar there with a waiter and a bartender. Luo Feng scanned the spots and saw that there were already 3 people sitting at the bar. 2 of them were having a discussion, while the other one was sitting silently on a sofa. Look at all those villas. That is the benefit you get from joining the Dojo of Limits as a fighter, a young man wearing white shirt and pants said. As long as you become a fighter and join the Dojo of Limits, you'll get a free villa and you'll be able to live here. Look at this environment. It's so comfortable. Of course, the fighter sector is different from all the other sectors outside. Look, a new person is coming. The 3 people saw Luo Feng. Luo Feng slightly nodded and sat on the sofa at the side. Nobody knew each other, so there wasn't any exchange of talk. As time passed, 3 more people came, which Luo Feng recognized none of. However, from their looks, the 3 of them were a bit older, probably all over 30 years old. One of them was even over 40 years old. Luo Feng, a loud sound came up. Luo Feng, startled, turned his head and looked, and saw a lean man with a face full of hideous scars walking towards him. You're coming to take the Prospective Fighter exam too, Brother Yang? Luo Feng stood up and greeted him. It's a bit embarrassing. I came to try last month, but sadly, my speed was only 24.9 meters per second. It was off by just that one bit, Yang Wu said helplessly. In fact, Yang Wu passed a long time ago in fist strength and reaction speed. It's just that speed is his weak point. However, starting from this year, Yang Wu's speed started improving. 24.9 meters and 25 meters isn't really a big difference. If everything goes well, he might get a grade of 25 meters per second. I'm sure you can pass this time, Brother Yang, Luo Feng laughed. This guy named Yang tried so many times already and never passed. I bet this time you'll fail too. A loud sound came from the side. Luo Feng looked over, and the one talking was a buff man with a full beard. Yang Wu immediately glared. The guy named Tong, you dare talk about me? Didn't you take the test and fail twice already? With your reaction speed, I guess you'll need at least another 2 or 3 more years of training. Silence. A cold sound came from the center of the lobby. The 8 people currently there all turned their heads and saw a middle-aged man wearing a dojo uniform. Let's go. Everyone follow me upstairs and take the exam. Remember, behave yourself once you're upstairs. Our old friends from Yangzhou City's headquarters came over today, so don't cause trouble. Yes, no matter if it was the arrogant full beard, Yang Wu, or Luo Feng. Everyone listened and followed. Headquarters' old friend? Luo Feng couldn't help but start guessing in his heart. Know this. Yangzhou City has 12 dojo of limits and the limit hall. Each sector's dojo of limits masters are called instructors. The master of the limit hall is called the chief instructor. After entering the elevator, the loose uniform-wearing middle-aged man pressed 6D. The elevator arrived at the 6th floor. Hua! The elevator door opened, and what came into sight was a gigantic training hall with around a dozen people inside. Luo Feng recognized one of them to be instructor Jiang. "They're here. Stop chatting," a middle-aged man with loose, long hair spoke, and all of them looked at Luo Feng's group. When facing their glares, Luo Feng's group tensed up. They knew that those who appear inside the limit hall, other than the service personnel, are fighters. In other words, all of these people are fighters, since this is the headquarters of the dojo of limits in Yangzhou City. "Get ready for examination," the middle-aged man with loose, long hair commanded. Luo Feng has seen this man before on the internet. He is the master of the limit hall, Yangzhou City's chief instructor, Wu Tong. "Come one by one and give me your ID." The fighter who led Luo Feng's group up here took their IDs and handed them over to chief instructor Wu Tong and laughed. "Boss, there's quite a few people today." "There's 8 of them." "Yup." Wu Tong randomly picked out an ID and scanned it on the machine next to him. Beep! A crystal-like display that was almost transparent shot out from the machine and displayed a large amount of personal information. First one, Tong Guan, the chief instructor, was indifferent. "Begin your fist strength test. Even those of you who came out of the army come to my limit hall to test." Interesting. Luo Feng, who was listening on the side, couldn't help but smile. The dojo of limits was created by the strongest fighter on Earth. The dojos are scattered all around the world, and their examinations have high credibility. Your examination results will receive recognition in every area in every country on Earth. Even the army or traditional martial artists like to come to the dojo of limits to take the exam. "Test your fist strength," the chief instructor commanded. "Yeah." The full-bearded man immediately took a step forward. With his left hand in front of his face and eyes wide opened, his right fist flew through an arc and hit against the large machine, which only shaked a little bit. The machine's display immediately displayed the number, 986 kg. "Pass." Next, Luo Feng, the chief instructor, randomly chose the second ID and scanned it on the machine. He read through the descriptive personal information and couldn't help but to be shocked. 18 years old? Old Jiang. This is your Jian sections, right? Since when did such a talented young man appear? Haha, instructor Jiang on the side couldn't help but to laugh. "We still don't know if he is truly skilled." In the group of fighters at the side, a fat veteran scoffed. "He might not know what he's dealing with and has no strength." Instructor Jiang glared. "What, jealous? Your northern section doesn't have any sort of genius like this." Luo Feng, "Show them my Jian section's members' strength." "Yes." Instructor Luo Feng stepped up and headed towards the fist strength tester machine. "Old Jiang seems pretty confident," chief instructor Wu Tong said while laughing, but his gaze landed upon Luo Feng. Everyone at the scene was watching Luo Feng and awaiting his test results. Luo Feng stood in front of the machine and released an explosive power from his waist. His body turned slightly and increased the power from his waist even more. In an instant, all the power transferred to his arm. Luo Feng's fist was like an arrow fired from a bow under the full moon, leaving behind a blur. With a pung sound, his fist smacked against the machine. After he threw his punch, Luo Feng was delighted. It felt so good throwing that punch. All the power went with it. He looked at the display and saw 1101 kg. Good. Not bad. Many fighters at the scene immediately complimented him. Chief instructor Wu Tong rubbed his chin and nodded. "Not bad, young man." Make sure to never lose your center sure when throwing your punch. If someone ignores everything and only wants higher results for fist strength, he will lose his center sure. The punch might be stronger. However, against monsters, losing your center sure is suicide. Not bad, not bad. Haha, this kid Luo Feng has great combat abilities, instructor Jiang laughed. He easily beat 3 elite members who had around his level of strength and speed. Luo Feng was delighted after hearing the instructor and chief instructor's compliments. He had a coma twice when he was younger, which led to increased strength and speed. Ever since then, he made a plan to become the best fighter. A really good fighter needs great combat abilities. In his teenage days, even though he hasn't joined the dojo of limits then, he looked up some basics of martial arts and trained alone at home to pile up the experience. This is why his combat abilities are so great. A nice bean sprout. Yup, pass. Chief Instructor Wu Tong randomly picked another ID and scanned it. Next by Yang. Luo Feng walked back to the place where examinees were supposed to stay. Not bad, crazy, Yang Wu laughed. Luo Feng grinned. All 8 of them quickly finished the strength test, and only one failed and was disqualified as a result. His fist strength was only 892 kilograms, which was close. So for the next test, the speed test, there were only 7 people left. Ka! Chief Instructor Wu Tong walked towards the speed tester and turned on the switch. One by one in reverse order. First, Yang Wu, Chief Instructor Wu Tong commanded. Yang Wu was the last one to test his strength, so he will be the first to test his speed. Yang Wu took a deep breath. He took the prospective fighter exam nearly 10 times and failed on the speed test every time. Brother Yang, you can do it. Luo Feng patted Yang Wu's shoulder. Watch me. Yang Wu adjusted his breathing and ran on the track. Instructor Jiang frowned watching this. Yang Wu was also from the Jian section, but he has failed the speed test so many times already. Dash! Yang Wu stepped on the surface of the floor and made a low sound. With the strength of his arms and his explosive start, he quickly accelerated to his maximum speed. His veins were popping on his scarred face, and he sprinted while clenching his teeth. He even let out a low howl after finishing the test. I must pass this. Yang Wu stopped and howled in his heart. He turned his head and saw Luo Feng give him a thumbs up. After seeing it, Yang Wu felt like he went to heaven. Ah, Yang Wu, nice luck. You actually passed. Instructor Jiang also let out a refreshed laugh. Yang Wu ran over and looked at the display, 25.1m/s. Phew, so close. Even Yang Wu laughed. If his body condition was slightly worse, he might have not achieved 25 meters per second. If so, then he would have failed once again. Yup, pass. Chief Instructor Wu Tong also smiled. Next, everyone did the test one by one. Since Luo Feng was the second person to take the strength test, he was the second last to take the speed test. It was Luo Feng's turn soon enough. Luo Feng, Chief Instructor Wu Tong hollered. Do your best, crazy. We better take the fighter combat exam together, Yang Wu encouraged, and Luo Feng smiled and nodded. He walked onto the track and adjusted his breathing pattern. He lightly jumped twice in place. Luo Feng was unlike Yang Wu, who was a brute force type. He gave off a relaxing feeling. Whoosh! Right when he exerted his strength, Luo Feng was like a panther whose speed had no match. He brought a strong current of wind with him as he passed through the speed testing region. You could tell with just your eyes that Luo Feng's speed was significantly higher than those before him. I felt like that was okay. Luo Feng turned his head and saw Yang Wu giving him a thumbs up. Even Chief Instructor Wu Tong and Instructor Jiang couldn't help but to nod their heads in praise. Luo Feng walked over and looked at the display. 28.6 meters per second. Nice speed. It's actually so much higher than the passing mark. Chief Instructor Wu Tong laughed and nodded. Last Tongguan. Times. After the strength test, one person was eliminated. During the speed test, 2 people were eliminated. Now there were only 5 people left. The third test is the reaction speed exam. Follow me. Chief Instructor Wu Tong brought the group of fighters and the 5 people remaining from the previous exams. They arrived at the reaction speed testing room connected to the training hall. The room was, of course, compared to the gigantic training halls that were a couple thousand ping large. These reaction speed rooms were clearly much smaller. There was only a large, seemingly valuable machine placed on the floor. In front of the machine was something that looked like a 6-barrel Gatling gun. However, there were easily a couple dozen holes in the machine, so it had way more firing sights than a Gatling gun. First, Tong Guan, Chief Instructor Wu Tong instructed. NOV. L. B // JNN. The full-bearded man immediately stepped in front of the gun. He was on a circle that had a diameter of 3.6 meters. Clatter! The switch was turned on. A red light started to emit above the border of the circle. It was like that the fighter inside was surrounded by a red curtain. Remember, no matter what, do not leave the circle. Once you leave it, it counts as a failure. If your body comes in contact with the red light, you lose points. After Chief Instructor Wu Tong finished saying that, he walked to the reaction speed tester and pressed a bunch of buttons and adjusted the power. There were many different power levels. The lowest one is meant for intermediate members, and the highest one is meant for top fighters. Begins. The Chief Instructor pressed a red button. Beep, beep. The machine's gigantic cannon started revolving, and all of the dozen barrels started emitting a red light. There were quick ones and slow ones, and even the trajectory wasn't stable. It was very chaotic and messy. It then started to rapidly shoot within the circle. The bearded man stared in front of him and was continuously dodging right and left and between the red-colored bullets. Pew! Pew! 2 consecutive hits. However, these bullets are like rubber and have no power and speed, so they don't hurt. Time passed by slowly. The bearded man was trying his best to dodge, and the timer was reaching a minute. Toot! After Chief Instructor Wu Tong pressed the button, the barrels quickly came to a halt. The middle display screen showed a large amount of information. Within 60 seconds, 57 hits and 3 contacts with the red light. Disqualified, Chief Instructor Wu Tong said, as he threw the bearded man's ID back to him. Just barely missed the mark. The bearded man clenched his teeth and walked out of the circle as he shook his head. Next, Luo Feng, Chief Instructor Wu Tong commanded. After bumping fists with Yang Wu, Luo Feng walked into the circle. As Luo Feng stood in the circle and faced the machine's cannon, he took a deep breath. Before he entered the dojo, he constantly practiced at home. Luo Feng shines the most in these kinds of dodging exams. Before high school exams, I get hit around 50 to 55 times in 60 seconds. Now that my body fitness level has increased, with my increased reaction time, passing this exam is no problem at all. Remember, do not leave the circle no matter what. If you leave the circle, you instantly fail. If you come in contact with the circle's red light, you lose points. After Chief Instructor Wu Tong said that, he pressed the red button. Beep, beep. The barrel of the reaction speed tester started revolving rapidly. The cannon's dozens of barrels all started to emit a red light and soon shot out the rubber bullets rapidly. Luo Feng stared ahead and rapidly calculated the positions in his head. As if he was a dexterous cat, he continuously dodged left and right and dodged the bullets one by one. Of course, some of the bullets were too fast to dodge, so he could only get hit. When Luo Feng was dodging, many of the fighters started to talk. This kid isn't bad. His reaction speed is superb. Indeed, he is fast and has a good foundation and form. Look, his feet are like a cat's pads. He never loses his balance after each turn, which allows him to rapidly change direction. This form, if he isn't a genius or hasn't worked bitterly for 10 years, then there's no way he would be able to have this kind of a solid foundation. All of the fighters at the scene were amazed. A fighter's fitness level could be trained, but form and skill all rely on experience. A higher body fitness level doesn't correspond to better form. Toot! After pressing the button, the machine's cannon started slowing down and a large amount of data was displayed. Within 60 seconds, 28 hits, 0 contacts with the red light. Excellent. Chief Instructor Wu Tong let out a smile. Not bad, Luo Feng. I congratulate you. After the official documents arrive and your data gets recorded, you'll become a prospective fighter. After the exam, an official certificate will be issued and your records are sent to the Citizenship Information Agency within 7 days. Luo Feng tightly clenched his right fist. I finally succeeded. I finally became a prospective fighter. Luo Feng. August 1st marks the date of the fighter combat exam. Arrive at the limit hall at dawn. Under the guidance of an instructor, you will go with other prospective fighters to hunt monsters outside the human bases. After you pass that exam, you'll become a real fighter. Instructor Jiang smiled as he said that. Okay, Luo Feng energetically nodded his head. Chief Instructor Wu Tong, who was next to the reaction speed tester, laughed. Okay, next by Yang. Luo Feng walked towards Yang Wu, who showed happiness. Yang Wu said in a low voice, "Congratulations, crazy. You're now a prospective fighter. After you pass the fighter combat exam, you'll become a true fighter." Luo Feng also replied in a low voice, "Brother Yang, I'm sure you'll pass the reaction speed test without a problem. When the time comes, let's take the fighter combat exam together." Okay, Yang Wu was excited. After that, Yang Wu and Luo Feng focused their attention on the current examinee. Soon after, two people took the test. One succeeded and one failed. Last, Yang Wu. Chief Instructor Wu Tong yelled. Yang Wu took in a deep breath. He has been waiting far too long for this day. Since he was always stuck on the speed test, this is the first time he'll be able to demonstrate his reaction speed in the limit hall. Go for it, Luo Feng encouraged. No worries. Yang Wu took a large step into the red circle, and Chief Instructor Wu Tong pressed the button. The barrel of the machine started revolving and started firing the rubber bullets from its dozen barrels, which covering the entire circle. Yang Wu was moving swiftly within the circle. Luo Feng watched Yang Wu's movements and was surprised. Brother Yang seems quite stiff. He isn't as flexible as me, but his technique's efficiency seems high. He dodges by a small margin. He doesn't make use of the 3.6-meter diameter of the circle. Every time he dodges, he only takes a step forward / back / left / right. Yang Wu's area of movement was small, but his dodging rate was high. This technique is indeed useful in real combat. However, you have to be extremely precise. If there is even one error, then the beast's claws will rip apart the fighter's body. Luo Feng evaluated in his heart. At least to Luo Feng, this seemed like an effective yet dangerous technique. It was like dancing on the edge of a blade. Beep! A minute soon passed, and the machine's cannon stopped revolving. Within 60 seconds, 52 hits, and no contacts with the red light. You pass, Chief Instructor Wu Tong said. Yang Wu, who was still within the red circle, clenched his fists tightly. His veins were clear on his biceps, and his eyes started tearing up. For this day, he has waited too long. Finally, he has achieved his dream. There is only one step left until the legendary rank of fighter. Yang Wu Chief Instructor Wu Tong frowned. Your technique of dodging belongs to the Ru Wei class. When fighting to the death with monsters, you use small movements to let their attacks barely miss you. Since you don't move as much, you can make more movements within the same amount of time, raising the chances of success. However, this technique is extremely difficult. Even if you estimate the beast's claw to miss you by 2 centimeters, if even one mistake is made, the claw might slash through your body and split you open. When fighting with monsters, you will probably die when you make an error. So, I advise you, when fighting with monsters, try to dodge a bit farther. Give yourself more space, Chief Instructor Wu Tong stressed. With your current strength, it's better for you to master the basics first. By doing that, you'll get better results. Yang Wu was surprised, but soon nodded. Yes, Chief Instructor. Yang Wu, take the Chief Instructor's words to heart. Avoid greedy thoughts in your way of martial arts. The Ru Wei class is very powerful, but if you don't have the strength to perform them, then there will be no use. If you try to forcefully perform them, then you will be a mere copycat for others to laugh at, Instructor Jiang told him seriously. Chief Instructor Wu Tong laughed. Okay, 3 examinees have passed this time's prospective fighter exam. Luo Feng, Bai Yang and Yang Wu. Luo Feng, Yang Wu and Bai Yang have been suppressing their joy and happiness. If it wasn't for the surrounding senior fighters, then they probably would have been screaming in joy by now. Everyone, your next task is to sign the combat exam contract. Come do it. As he said that, Chief Instructor Wu Tong looked towards a silver-haired man in a black robe and laughed. Sorry for making you wait so long, Captain. I'm sorry, let us go. Captain? Luo Feng and the other two were shocked. The chief instructor was the head of Yangzhou City's limit hall and had immense authority. If he says captain, then who on earth would that silver-haired man in the black robe be? The silver-haired man scanned Luo Feng and his group. For a moment, Luo Feng felt like the silver-haired man's eyes were like the infinite space, and all of a sudden, he was being sucked inside. He shuddered and regained his consciousness. Exactly what just happened? Luo Feng soon found out that Yang Wu and Bai Yang, who were next to him, had very sluggish expressions. How fearsome! Just one gaze and it messed us up completely. Luo Feng was shocked inside. This power was too fearsome. NOVLB //JNN. If two people were fighting, then the opponent's gaze can mess with your consciousness before the fight even begins. By the time you regain composure, you might have been stabbed through the heart by your opponent already. The silver-haired man smiled and looked at Luo Feng surprisingly. Kid, nice talent. Work hard. The silver-haired man slightly smiled as he said that. A nice willpower too. Chief Instructor Wu Tong nodded in satisfaction. Chief Instructor Wu Tong and the silver-haired man immediately left. What just happened? What happened to me? Yang Wu and Bai Yang just regained consciousness. As they recalled the events of what just happened, they broke out in cold sweats. No matter if it was Yang Wu, Bai Yang, or Luo Feng, they have never seen someone as frightening as that white-haired man. This white-haired man has been watching us the entire time. However, until now, I haven't noticed his presence at all. Luo Feng was amazed. With no sound at all. It was like he never existed. Amazing. No, wait. When Luo Feng tried to think of what the silver-haired man's face looked like, he was shocked to realize. He only remembered those eyes which mesmerized him and couldn't recall his face at all. The three of you, come here. Instructor Jiang Yin and the fighters with him smiled as they looked at the three. Come to the training hall. They left the reaction speed testing room and entered the large training hall. These are the contracts for the combat exam. One of the fat veteran fighters took out 3 of the contracts from the corner of the hall. Once you join the fighter combat exam, the dojo of limits takes no responsibility for your deaths. Of course, the death rate in the fighter combat exam is very low. Luo Feng, Yang Wu, and Bai Yang accepted the contract and flipped through its contents. The death rate is low, but the injury rate is not, a bald brute said deeply. In the fighter combat exam, you are fighting with monsters to the death. Of course, this is the most basic type of hunting. When you individually go to the danger zones to hunt monsters in the future, the dangers will be far more horrifying compared to the fighter exam. If you can't even pass this stage, then you have no right to become a fighter. Luo Feng, Yang Wu, and Bai Yang looked at each other. The contract is simple. Its main point is that if a death occurs in the exam, the dojo of limits takes no responsibilities. The 3 of them had no hesitations and immediately signed their names on the documents. Okay. Instructor Jiang Yin, who was beside them, smiled good. Today is July 1st, so there is one more month until the actual exam. In this month, you should make the appropriate preparations. Oh yeah, Instructor Jiang Yin walked to the keyboard beside him and rapidly pressed some buttons. Soon enough, a large screen was displayed on the wall of the training hall, and an article appeared. It was called Genetic Energy Technique. Luo Feng held his breath. The reason why the fighters have such powerful bodies. Why some of the top fighters can surpass Mach speed. Why their knives can slice through thick steel. Of course, with Luo Feng and his group's strength, they are nowhere close to the legendary fighters. Why are fighters strong? Because they rely on genetic energy. Back when humanity was infected by the RR virus in the Grand Nirvana period, our genes started evolving to fight against the virus. Instructor Jiang Yin smiled. When the genes evolve to a certain point, it's able to absorb the faint energies of the cosmos. The energy envelopes every cell of your body. During this process, your genes, bones, cells, blood, organs, and skin will all continue to evolve and become stronger. Your bones can become tens to hundreds of times harder than diamonds. Your organs will be powerful enough to hold your breath in water for half an hour and longer. All of this relies on the energy you absorb and envelop your cells with. It becomes your power. In other words, genetic energy. Instructor Jiang pointed to the article on the screen. This is the technique to enhance your genes, the Wu Xian Xiang Tian asterisk technique, which is also the only technique to train your genetic energy. Luo Feng immediately started to carefully read the article. Genetic energy, human gene enhancement, reliance on evolution. So that's how it is, Luo Feng understood after he read it carefully. Normal people aren't able to train this because their genes weren't suitable. Once your fist strength reaches 900 kilograms, your speed reaches 25 meters per second, and your reaction speed all past the mark required for a prospective fighter, then your genes were ready for training. 90% of prospective fighters are able to start training. You guys can start trying to train your genetic energy in this month, Instructor Jiang smiled. And the most valuable Daoing technique will only be available to you after you become a fighter. There was only one way to train your genetic energy on Earth. However, there were millions of Daoing techniques. Training in the Daoing techniques could be increase the speed of genetic energy training by 10 times. That's why the Daoing techniques are valued by all powers. Asterisk literally means 5 hearts towards the sky, which sounds a bit weird, so I didn't change it. Yang couldn't help but to ask, I have heard about how great the Daoing techniques are, but exactly how great are they? How can it increase the process of genetic energy training? At this time, a middle-aged man with graying hair said, Yang, I'll tell it to you this way. For instance, if you don't learn the Daoing techniques and only use the Wu Xian Xiang Tian techniques forever, then your cells will be full from energy after 5 minutes of training a day. Your cells won't be able to absorb more energy. However, by using the Daoing techniques, the capacity of your cells will increase. This way, you can practice for 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and maybe even an hour. This middle-aged man looked towards Luo Feng's group. Do you guys understand now? After hearing this, Luo Feng suddenly realized. The Daoing techniques simply increase every cell's appetite, Luo Feng thought to himself. The cells absorbing the faint energies of the cosmos and transforming them into genetic energy is just like how humans need to eat food. If a man could only eat 3 meals, the Daoing techniques could make him eat 5 or 10 meals. Jiang smiled. If you don't train in the Daoing techniques, then pretend that the amount of energy your cells can absorb is a unit. Once you start training in the Daoing techniques, the amount of energy your cells can absorb could become 2 units, 3 units, or maybe even more. In other words, your 1 year of training could surpass another person's 10 years of training. This is the charm of the Daoing techniques. Every fighter at the scene talked about the Daoing techniques, as each of them clearly had a lot to say about the topic. About the Daoing techniques, the strongest fighter, leader of all the dojo of limits, Hong, created 9 types of Daoing techniques. If you join my dojo of limits and contribute enough towards the dojo, then you might have a chance to learn these top-class Daoing techniques. The fighters all laughed and enticed Luo Feng and his group. All the great powers on Earth hope to have more fighters in their country. Instructor Luo Feng suddenly spoke up. Instructor Jiang laughed as he looked towards Luo Feng. What's the problem? Instructor, about the silver-haired man who just walked out with the chief instructor. How come he could stop all forms of resistance with just one gaze? What kind of power does this fighter have? Luo Feng has never heard that fighters were this powerful, so he was very curious. Instructor Jiang slightly laughed, while the fighters beside him completely laughed out loud. Kid, that person who walked out with the chief instructor is a spirit reader. Spirit readers are even fewer in number than us fighters. The fighters all laughed as they said. Of course, the spirit readers are usually fighters too. However, they're the most frightening existence within the fighters. Spirit reader? Luo Feng was shocked. Luo Feng has read introductions about them thanks to the modern internet. They all said that the spirit readers are a special existence within the fighters and also a very terrifying existence. However, the internet didn't explain specifically on exactly how terrifying they actually were. After you become a fighter in the future, you'll come to know spirit readers, Instructor Jiang laughed. All right, today's prospective fighter exam is over. The 3 of you can return home too. Yep, make sure you stamp your contracts, hand in your documents. We'll contact you in a few days. All right, you guys can go now. Yes, instructor. Luo Feng, Yang Wu, and Bai Yang turned and left the training hall. They were escorted and carefully watched by the gun-holding guardsmen as they left the sector. Times. Ming-US sector's entrance. Luo Feng, Yang Wu, and Bai Yang. My name is Bai Yang, and I'm from the top military academy in Jiangnan. My family lives in Yangzhou City, so I took this chance to take the exam while it's summer vacation. Bai Yang stuck out his hands to both Luo Feng and Yang Wu for handshakes. I'm glad to be able to meet you too. Jiangnan's top military academy? Luo Feng was planning to go there. Luo Feng laughed. My name is Luo Feng, and he is Yang Wu. We are both from Jian region's dojo of limits. Luo Feng brothers' future is surely limitless. Not many people become fighters even in our elite class in the military academy. Bai Yang happily made friends. For Luo Feng to become a prospective fighter at such a young age, he was even more happy to become friends. Luo Feng might become a super important person in the future. Yang Wu laughed on the side. Let's not say so much. It must be fate for all of us to pass the exam at the same place on the same day. Today's a good day. Let's find some restaurant to eat heartily and chat happily. Okay, Bai Yang smiled and accepted. Let's go. Luo Feng also laughed. The three of them just passed the prospective fighter exam and were bursting with excitement. They selected a restaurant and ate lunch together, and then went their separate ways back home. Times. Luo Feng drank some liquor today and was waiting to report the good news to his family on the subway. However, there were too many people on the subway. He was afraid that if he spoke the words "pass the prospective fighter exam," he would cause a scene. Well, it wouldn't be too late to call after I exit the subway. After taking the number 1 subway line to Zhong'an Road Station, it would take a long walk to get to Zhong'an Road Station's number 11 line. I'll tell Dad, Mom, and Brother now. Luo Feng has been excited up until now. Prospective fighter. His family has been so poor and working for so many years. He has been working for so many years, and finally there's some accomplishment. As he stood on the sidewalk of Zhong'an Road Station, Luo Feng took out his cell phone. Beep! Beep! After typing in the number, Luo Feng waited. Hello? The cell phone carried his brother's voice. Luo Feng laughed and said, It's me. Of course. Don't you even know what kind of person your brother is? Of course I passed. Hi, yeah, okay. Luo Feng held his cell phone and happily said, Is Mom home? Okay, let Mom take the phone. Hello, Mom. It's me, Feng. Luo Feng was bursting with happiness. As he heard his mother's happily excited voice across the cell phone, the sides of Luo Feng's eyes started to become moist, for he has worked for this day for far too long. Mom, you asked 3 times already. I really did pass the exam. The forms will arrive at home in a few days. n/o/vel/b//in.c//om. I ate already with the other 2 people who passed. Luo Feng laughed. Oh, call Dad? Don't worry, Mom. I won't forget. Okay, I know. After he hung up, Luo Feng couldn't help but to let out a smile. Happiness, satisfaction. Wasn't Luo Feng's bitter training since childhood all for the sake of this day? Luo Feng adjusted his breathing and calmed himself, or else he wouldn't be able to call his father's cell phone. In this family, Luo Honggua is the family's mountain, the family's pillar. Before Luo Feng became an elite member, the family had to completely rely on what his father earned. Even though his mother works, she needs her energy to take care of her 2 sons, even more so since one of them is handicapped. Father's home remodeling work is bitter and hard. He frequently gets injured on the job. Dad, from now on, you will never have to go through such exhausting work again, Luo Feng thought to himself. Beep! Beep! A sound came from the cell phone as Luo Feng waited for his father to answer. How come there's no answer? It's around 12 right now, so it should be lunchtime. My dad and the others are remodeling right now, and they usually take a break during the noon. So he should be able to answer the phone. Luo Feng looked doubtfully at his cell phone screen and pressed the cell phone location searcher function. The screen of the phone quickly displayed a map of Yangzhou City. The small red dot on the map represented Luo Feng's cell phone's location, while the small green dot represented his father's. Not too far from where I am now. Luo Feng knew in an instant where his father's current location is and couldn't help but to let out a smile. I'll run to my dad's side and tell him in person about the good news. Luo Feng quickly went to the location displayed on the cell phone's map. Times. Jian region, Sky Garden sector. Hurry and move those things so you can go take a break and eat lunch. We should go eat some food too in one of the private villas' lawns in the sector. Zhang Haobai, pale and wearing long, white pants, urged the workers on. He even had 3 cold-faced bodyguards by his side. Mister, don't rush. This furniture is extremely valuable. Don't underestimate it. Get some more people and work a bit harder. A truck was parked by the private lawn and had a lot of sealed wooden furniture. Wooden furniture in these days are extremely valuable and expensive. They're a luxury item which belong to few, because all the humans live in cities. There are very few places to plant trees, and most of trees are for decoration. Although there are many trees outside the city, many monsters are there too. The price for lumber is extremely high, since you will have to fight monsters to get it. Most people's furnitures these days are made out of plastic, while some of the better ones are made out of glass. A normal family wouldn't be able to afford wood products. Be careful. The remodeling company's workers carefully moved the heavy furniture from the truck to the ground. After that, 3 of the workers would carefully move the furniture into the lawn. Be careful, Zhang Haobai frowned and reminded. This is furniture made out of real, high-quality wood. If you break it, you'll surely get in trouble with your boss. Hoo-hoo. The 3 workers carefully moved the furniture. The furniture was extremely valuable and heavy, around 1,000 kg. It's a bit of work for these 3 workers to move it. Stop and rest for a bit. Move it into the house in one breath later. The worker, lifting in front, ordered, put it down here for now. Slowly, lightly, the 3 workers slowly put the furniture on the lawn. Only after doing so were they able to straighten their backs and take a good breath of air. Old Luo, I'm already hungry. After doing that, a tall worker started stretching his body. After moving this and 2 more pieces of furniture, we'll be done. After that, we can all eat together. Luo Hongguo laughed as he looked at the 2 other workers. He wiped the sweat off with his shirt. It was June and almost 1 p.m., so it was the hottest time of the day. For the 3 of them to move a valuable piece of furniture that weighs 1,000 kilograms, it surely was bitter work. Work faster, Zhang Haobai ordered impatiently. Luo Hongguo bended down to grab onto the furniture. Guys, work hard and move this piece of furniture in. Come, 1, 2, 3, up. Luo Hongguo and his group lifted together and carefully went up the steps. They quickly entered the house and came out soon after. When Luo Hongguo and his group walked past Zhang Haobai frowned after smelling the sweat emanating from them. Poor people will be poor people doing this kind of bitter work. They'll have a bitter life for the rest of their lives, Zhang Haobai thought to himself. Zhang Haobai's dad was rich, so he was born into a wealthy family. Zhang Haobai has always looked down on those at the bottom of society. To him, those willing to do these kinds of bitter work have no fighting spirit and deserve to live through their bitter days. Careful, don't touch the gate. Luo Hongguo and his group carefully moved the furniture step by step. Their shirts were drenched in sweat. A droplet of sweat leaked down from a head and rolled down into their necks. Rest for a bit outside of the home. Luo Hongguo put the furniture down and adjusted their breathing. Go 1, 2, 3 ups. Even though Luo Hongguo and his group were tired, they've been doing this for 20 to 30 years, so they're used to it. They know their limits, so mistakes rarely occur. Soon after, Luo Hongguo and his group went to move the final piece of furniture. It sure is hot. Zhang Haobai raised his head and looked towards the sky. Brother Wang, we'll go eat at a nearby restaurant later. Thanks, young master, the 3 bodyguards laughed in reply. Zhang Haobai glanced at the final piece of furniture the 3 workers were carrying and let out a snort from his nose. He naturally hated these kinds of peasants. Suddenly, his gaze landed upon the marble used for pavement. One of the tiles had a crack, which was accidentally made when he sparred with his bodyguards a few days ago. Zhang Haobai's eyes flashed. I was low on money recently, and now's a good chance to make. At this time, Luo Hongguo and his group were busy moving the 3rd piece of furniture. Suddenly, N/O/vel/B//in, .c//om. A cell phone started ringing. Luo Hongguo, who was currently moving the furniture, rejoiced in his heart. It must be from Feng, however, since Luo Hongguo is moving furniture. He can't answer the phone. He'll have to call back after he puts the piece of furniture down. Rest for a bit outside the house. Lightly, slowly, Luo Hongguo and his group slowly put the furniture down. Luo Hongguo took the cell phone out of his pocket. Looking at the display, the call was indeed from his son. He let out a smile and preparing to call back. What's the problem with you guys? Hey, we told you guys to be careful. What are you guys doing? A voice of anger rose. Luo Hongguo and his group turned their heads in surprise and only saw Jiang Haobai's gloomy face. Jiang Haobai was angrily pointing at the marble. Is this how you do things? Since you guys weren't even focusing, look, my home's pavement was broken by you guys. This is Nanshan marble, which was bought outside the city. One piece of marble would cost around $100,000. Can you pay that? Huh. Luo Hongguo and his group lowered their heads and looked. Indeed, on the pavement towards the road, one of the marble had a small crack. I'll call your company's boss. What's with this? Jiang Haobai fumed. Brother Wang, you have their company's phone number, right? Call their company and get their boss over here. There's no point in talking with these people anymore. I have their company's phone number here. The bodyguard named Wang immediately took out his cell phone and started dialing. Luo Hongguo and his group were well acquainted. That's wrong, the large worker immediately said. The crack on the marble was already there. I saw it. Making excuses? There is no fucking point in making excuses, Jiang Haobai laughed loudly. Luo Hongguo frowned. As an experienced, old worker, he knew these kinds of disputes were the most troublesome. The company usually highly values its reputation. If their reputation is harmed and the company has no evidence to prove that their workers didn't make the crack, then usually the company can only pay for the loss. If the company pays money, then the money will be taken out of the salary of the 3 workers responsible. Let's move the furniture in first and then talk. Luo Hongguo spoke as he went to lift the furniture. Move the furniture? Jiang Haobai stepped forward and shoved Luo Hongguo and started lecturing the 3 workers. Don't play tricks. The furniture on the marble is the proof. You want to move the furniture in and then play dumb? I've seen these petty tricks all the time. Wait for your boss to come and then talk. Old Luo. The other 2 co-workers went to help Luo Hongguo up. No problem, Luo Hongguo brushed off his shoulder. How could you guys shove people? We aren't even sure if we broke the marble. What's the meaning of shoving? The other 2 co-workers immediately glared and spoke in anger. These people who do these kinds of work fear nothing. If they are angered, then a fight would occur. Even if they get jailed by the police, they only want money and not their lives, so even the police cannot deal with them and will eventually release them. Don't try and argue with me. Luo Hongbai's 2 legs were like lightning and kicked the 2 workers' stomachs. Pew! The 2 co-workers flew away and fell on the ground. You don't know who you're arguing with, Jiang Haobai laughed coldly. His Jiang family in the Jian region had a wide range of contacts. Even if he beat up some regular workers, nothing would happen. Old Tian, Big Monkey, are you okay? Luo Hongguo was getting nervous too. Young man, how could you do this? Luo Hongguo said angrily. Jiang Haobai frowned after smelling Luo Hongguo's sweat and waved. Brother Wang, you guys teach them a lesson so they'll be quiet. Young master. The remodeling company, the bodyguard named Wang handed over the cell phone. Okay, Jiang Haobai waved his hand, and the 3 bodyguards immediately went to beat up the 3 workers, while Jiang Haobai held the phone. Yes, I am from the Sky Garden. Let your Chairman Ho take the phone. Chairman Ho, what's the problem with the 3 workers you sent today? They are sloppy and cracked open my lawn's marble pavement. Hurry up and send people and sort this out. If you don't figure this out, don't expect any money. While the conversation was still going, stop! An angry voice came from outside the lawn. At this time, Luo Hongguo and his co-workers were in a corner and had footprints all over them from the bodyguards. The 3 bodyguards and Jiang Haobai all turned their heads. A shady image flew into the lawn, and Jiang Haobai recognized him in an instant and raged. Luo Feng, you came to my house to receive a beating? Fuck you. Luo Feng saw his father, bent back, drenched in sweat and covered in footprints. Luo Feng's eyes immediately turned red. His father had to endure such a bitter life and is always frowned upon. And today, something like this happened to him. One of the bodyguards, who was short and fat, laughed coldly as he stepped up. "Get the fuck out of the way!" Luo Feng shouted, and his leg, like lightning, kicked harshly. The bodyguard even blocked it with his right arm. Punk! The heavy kick immediately widened the fat, short bodyguard's eyes. He flew out 4 to 5 meters in the air before falling back to the ground. The other 2 bodyguards were stunned. "Luo Feng, you dare hit my men?" Zhang Haobai glared and shouted, "You asked for it. Fuck you." Luo Feng shouted in anger as he glared fiercely and clenched his teeth. "Attack! Attack together!" Zhang Haobai's face was red with fury as he waved his hands in anger. This Luo Feng dare mess on his territory and attack his bodyguards. "Be careful. His kicks are heavy." The fat bodyguard on the ground rubbed his stomach. Some blood leaked out the side of his mouth, and he couldn't get up for a while. "Kiddo, think you're tough?" The bodyguard named Wang and the other bodyguard rushed towards Luo Feng's direction. As they had witnessed Luo Feng's power, they were careful to not underestimate him. At this time, Luo Feng rushed to his father's side, but before he could say anything, Luo Hong was shouted, "I'm fine, Feng, behind you." Within an instant, the 2 bodyguards came from the left and right to attack Luo Feng simultaneously. Even that Zhang Haobai was coming in pursuit. The 3 of them together. Oomph! Luo Feng glanced out the corner of his eye and instantly turned. With the power that came with the rotation, he shot out his right arm in the shape of a blade and cut across the space in front of him as if it was a combat blade. Oh! The arm caused a powerful current to blow ahead of it. "Not good." The bodyguard named Wang's face instantly changed, and he ran up to block Luo Feng's arm with both of his arms. Punk! The sound of an impact. Luo Feng's blade powerfully hit the bodyguard named Wang's 2 arms. The bodyguard named Wang felt that his arms weren't his own anymore. They hurt so much that there was no feeling for a moment. His right arm fell powerlessly, and he retreated while yelling, "My right arm's fractured." "What?" Zhang Haobai, who was getting ready to move, was shocked. His bodyguards were all elite members of the dojo. Luo Feng, also an elite member, should have around equal power. There was no way that his attack could fracture the arm of the bodyguard named Wang, who was also an elite member. Not good. The bodyguard named Wang was injured, so only the tall bodyguard in black was left. He was surprised and enraged as he witnessed his comrade's defeat. The bodyguard in black clenched his teeth and howled as he threw a kick and a punch with lightning speed. Whoosh! Whoosh! Luo Feng was dexterous, so it only took 2 sways to dodge the 2 attacks. He then prepared for a powerful chop. He raised his right hand high in the air and attacked. His chop was like a knife. It's too fast, the bodyguard in black couldn't dodge, so he could only put his arms above to block and clench his teeth as he received the attack. As Luo Feng's frightening attack came down, the bodyguard's heart was filled with fear. Don! The bodyguard lost feeling in both of his arms, and they were softened by Luo Feng's attack. However, Luo Feng's chop didn't lose momentum. After hitting the bodyguard's arms, it fell on his shoulder. Over 1,000 kg of power instantly made the bodyguard kneel on the ground. How is this possible? Zhang Haobai, who was getting ready for a sneak attack, stopped out of shock. The 3 bodyguards, one grasped his stomach as he tried to climb up, the other had a fractured arm, and the other was kneeling on the ground from just one chop. Zhang Haobai! Luo Feng's eyes were like flames, as if he was about to eat someone. What the hell are you doing? Luo Feng, what are you doing? Zhang Haobai quickly backed 2 steps away and yelled, "This is my home. How dare you barge in here and hit my people and still act so arrogantly? You dare hit my dad? Kick my dad!" Luo Feng clenched his fists. All the muscles on his body were like steel, and his veins were like worms. "Your dad? I don't even know who your dad is. How could I hit your dad and kick your—" Zhang Haobai suddenly looked towards the 3 workers who were still dirty and covered in footprints. He realized in an instant why Luo Feng just barged in without saying anything and started attacking. Zhang Haobai looked at Luo Feng, who seemed like he was about to eat someone, and immediately howled. Luo Feng, I'm warning you, you. Punk. Luo Feng kicked sharply, his leg, like lightning, hit against Zhang Haobai's stomach, which caused Zhang Haobai to lie on the floor with his face bursting red. Warning my ass. Luo Feng grabbed Zhang Haobai by the collar. His grab caused Zhang Haobai to be suspended in the air. You. Zhang Haobai wanted to speak, but he was grabbed by the collar and completely suspended, which put a lot of pressure on his neck. It was already hard to breathe, so there's no way he'd be able to talk. Put the owner down right now. A sound of anger came from far away. A group of around 10 bodyguards fully equipped were rushing. There were cameras all over the place in the Sky Garden sector, so the guards knew about the fight right away. All the people living in this sector were important, so security was high. They rushed here in an instant and called the police. As Luo Feng saw the guards coming, he sneered at Zhang Haobai and threw him to the side like an object. Zhang Haobai fell onto the grass of the lawn, which colored parts of his white shirt green. Dad, are you all right? Luo Feng walked towards Luo Hongguo's side. It's nothing, just a few scratches. Luo Hongguo looked at the bodyguards who seemed to be in pain and Zhang Haobai's sick face and worriedly said in a low voice, Feng, how come you don't even know how to control your power? You beat them up like this, so the medical fees will surely be high. They could even sue you. Yeah, Feng, you went a bit overboard. Another worker was worried. Doesn't matter, great job. They didn't even treat us like people before, the other tall worker said in anger. The sector's guards knew the wealthy families well. The Jiang family's 3 bodyguards were all elite bodyguards and were elite members of the dojo. Now that they all suffered major injuries, they won't provoke Luo Feng for a while. Even though you get paid for being a bodyguard, nobody is willing to get beat up and have their bones fractured like those 3 bodyguards. Beep, beep. Suddenly the sound of a police siren came, so everyone turned their heads and saw one police car quickly stop in front of the Zhang family's gate. The 4-car doors opened and 4 policemen sprinted out. The police is here. The guards immediately moved out of the way. Not good. The police is here. Luo Hongguo and his group were all surprised, and Luo Hongguo dragged Luo Feng to a corner and quickly said in a low voice, Feng, you injured them, so there'll be problems once you arrive at the police station. Don't rush. I'll find you a lawyer immediately. Dad, I passed the prospective fighter exam, Luo Feng quietly said. With just this one phrase, Luo Hongguo, who was extremely impatient, immediately relaxed and let out a sigh of relief. Really? That's great. Feng, if you pass the exam, then even those policemen don't have the right to detain you. Prospective fighters become fighters after taking the fighter combat exam. Once their body fitness passes, then they can train their genetic energy. So, according to the rules of the country, once a prospective fighter or a fighter gets dragged into cases, the security agency of the city takes care of things. Jiangnan City naturally has Jiangnan City's security agency take care of things, so regular policemen have no right to detain them. However, Dad, the higher authority still needs to approve of my passing. It will take a few more days until the prospective fighter documents arrive at my home and get updated in my profile, Luo Feng said quietly. So, according to the law, I'm technically not a prospective fighter right now. I'll only become one in a few more days. Luo Feng officially becomes a prospective fighter when it's recorded into his public profile. Even if there is trouble these few days, there's no problem. Contact the Dojo of Limits and have them vouch for me and prove that I passed the prospective fighter exam. After that, I can leave the police station immediately, Luo Feng said. However, if there's no trouble, then there's no need to go through all that hassle. It's just a few days in the police station. After that, I wouldn't be able to stay even if I wanted to n/o/vel/b//and.c//om. Luo Hongguo nodded. Luo Feng. The 2 policemen walked over, and one of them reprimanded. You dare barge into other civilians' property and injure their men. Walk, you're coming with us to the police station. My police friends, I'll cooperate. Luo Feng smiled as he walked forward. Let's go. However, I'm not sure if your car can fit all of us. The 2 policemen panicked. Don't worry, I have a car. Zhang Haobai turned his head and looked towards the 4 policemen. Uncle Lu, he attacked and injured me and my 3 bodyguards. We are all witnesses for that. Bring them all. The policeman called Uncle Lu ordered. Luo Feng, Zhang Haobai maliciously looked at Luo Feng. The rage in his heart was great. His rage has already been collecting throughout the 3 years of high school. Luo Feng's beating today reminded him of the time where a similar situation happened in the dojo. This time, even death won't get you out of this. You dare injure me and my bodyguards so badly. We can even make this a case and give you a few years in prison. Let's see if you're still so arrogant then. Luo Feng smiled as he walked into the police car with the policeman. The room was empty, dark, and cold. Cold air constantly flowed in. You couldn't help but to shiver. This is the interrogation room? Yet Luo Feng had a look of curiosity on his face as he looked around the room. They threw me in this dark room and set the AC on such a high setting. Are they trying to do some psychological warfare? Before the interrogation even started, Luo Feng has already won. Luo Feng, who has already passed the prospective fighter exam, is unafraid of any of the police's tricks. Outside in the security room, a few policemen looked inside the room through their security cameras. One of the young female officers wondered, "Head, how come this young man doesn't feel anything at all?" Usually when someone enters the interrogation room and stays there for half an hour, they start panicking due to their own worries. Don't underestimate him. His profile states that he is an elite member of the dojo, and he even injured 4 elite members. The bald, middle-aged officer laughed. One harmed 4? If he's that strong, is it possible that he's a prospective fighter? If he is, then that'll be a problem, said one of the young male officers. He isn't a prospective fighter. His profile says it clearly. The bald, middle-aged officer said, "Let's go, Xiao Yang. Come with me to interrogate him for a bit." "Yes, Head." Inside the interrogation room, Luo Feng has been waiting for over half an hour. "You're here?" Luo Feng smiled as he watched the 2 policemen enter. The bald, middle-aged officer was startled. This young man was unexpectedly calm. He came in with the other young officer and sat in front of the interrogation desk. He then smiled, saying, "Sorry, we were interrogating a few others just now, which caused a delay. So that's why it took us so long to arrive." "No problem," Luo Feng then asked. "What about the 3 workers from the remodeling company? Where did they go?" "We let them return home." The bald, middle-aged officer seemed friendly. Luo Feng nodded. In this case, Luo Honggua and his group were victims, so they were let off the hook. The 3 workers from the remodeling company and Zhang Haobai and his 3 bodyguards all told us all about what happened. The truth is against you. Do you have any words? The bald, middle-aged officer stared at Luo Feng. Usually, when someone hears that the truth isn't with them, they try to explain themselves. Luo Feng smiled. Nothing much. Zhang Haobai and his 3 bodyguards. Those 4 are maggots. They dared to hit my dad, so I just taught them a lesson. The bald, middle-aged officer and the young male officer were stunned. "Punk!" The young middle-aged officer slammed the table and scolded. "Luo Feng, get real. This is the police station. Stop being so arrogant." "Arrogant? I was telling you what happened." Luo Feng smiled. "All right, that's all I have to say." The bald, middle-aged officer frowned. "Luo Feng, your arrogance will not help your case. You purposefully injured them to such an extent, so a couple years in jail wouldn't be surprising. You better explain the events of what happened in detail." "I have nothing much to say," Luo Feng said as he shook his head. The bald, middle-aged officer frowned. He looked at Luo Feng carefully, who remained silent. Finally, the bald, middle-aged officer waved his hand and said, "Okay then, don't regret this. Take him down." Luo Feng smiled as he stood up. 2 male officers rushed in the interrogation room and forcefully escorted him out. Times. The Jian region jail is right next to the police station. The influence of the fighters has caused today's society to fight and brawl a lot. So many people are detained here. Each region has their own jail to detain these people, and Luo Feng will be entering jail today too. After changing into the gray prisoner uniform, Luo Feng was locked up. 299, this is the room. Go in. The guardsmen pushed Luo Feng in and locked the prison door. The people locked up here were mostly thieves, drunk drivers, brawlers, and criminals awaiting their trials. Luo Feng's case of a fight was common around here. Simply put, it was just a small fight between a few people. However, If this case is actually brought to the court, then there is indeed a chance of Luo Feng receiving a few years of imprisonment. The reason is, of course, Luo Feng is not a prospective fighter. In the prison cell, a new one, a bald brute with tattoos was lying on the bed. Next to him was an old man who was obediently giving him a massage. The bald brute glared at Luo Feng. "Kiddo, you are all skin and bones. Not bad, come and kick my shin." Luo Feng looked strangely at the bald brute. He has heard rumors of bullying in the cell, but they were only rumors. This is the first time he has witnessed such an event. "Damn, are you deaf?" The bald brute glared and stood up. Interesting. Luo Feng was very curious. Picking a fight? After the bald brute witnessed Luo Feng's lack of respect, he suddenly rose his palm leaf-like hand and went for Luo Feng's head. With a slight movement, Luo Feng's arm came out like a viper and grabbed the bald brute's wrist. "Hm?" The bald brute shook violently. He felt like his arm was trapped by iron bands. He couldn't exert any strength at all, and his face couldn't help but to change completely. He knew he was in deep trouble. "You want me to kick your shin?" Luo Feng's right hand's fingers strengthened and twisted the bald brute's wrist, who painfully got on the ground and begged, "My brother, I failed to recognize your might. Brother, please let me off the hook." Ah. The intense pain made him scream out uncontrollably. Luo Feng exerted some strength and tossed the bald brute against the wall. "Tell me whenever you want me to kick your shin," Luo Feng said in ill humor. With that, he suddenly leaped, and with some help with his right hand, he was already lying on the bed. The bald brute sat in the corner and rubbed his right arm's wrist. And the old man and the skinny young man on the bed, who were also in the cell, looked at the bald brute and then looked at Luo Feng. "Baldy Huang, what's wrong?" The guardsman standing in front of the prison snickered. "Who messed with you? How did this happen?" "Oh, a quick reminder. That new young man who just joined you came here after beating 4 elite members of the dojo. Be careful and don't provoke him." After saying that, the guardsman hummed a small hymn and left. Should have said that earlier. The bald brute looked in fear towards the bed. One person beat 4 elite members of the dojo? That's messed up. Meanwhile, Luo Feng was thinking about what he read at the limit hall about the genetic energy techniques. Since I have nothing to do here anyway, when it gets dark, I might as well try to train my genetic energy. Fighters rely on genetic energy for their unstoppable strength. Times. When Luo Feng was planning his genetic energy training in his cell, inside a room in a KTV asterisk near the Jiang region police station, 2 young men were flirting with a young woman. One of them shrieked and howled as he sang. And that young man was precisely Jiang Haobai. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. "All right, you two can leave now," Jiang Haobai waved his hand. The only people that were left in the room were Jiang Haobai and another teenager who was wearing glasses. "Brother Zhou, I asked you here for a favor," Jiang Haobai spoke. "If you have something to ask for, then don't hold back," the glasses-wearing teenager laughed. "If I can help, then I definitely will do so right away. It's like this, there's someone named Luo Feng. This maggot always goes against me." As he was talking, Jiang Haobai spit in rage. "This time, he injured my 3 bodyguards and beat me up. Brother, I can't take this. This person is locked up in jail now. So I want to ask Brother Zhou to get through the guardsmen and teach Luo Feng a lesson." "Oh, no problem. However, I need money for the guardsmen's cooperation." The glasses-wearing teenager wrinkled his eyebrow. "Money is not a problem. I have 100,000 right here. After the task is complete, I'll give another 100,000 in." Jiang Haobai immediately threw his wallet towards the teenager. "Haha, awesome." The glasses-wearing teenager didn't even look at the wallet and nodded. 200,000. "We can do anything to him as long as we don't kill him. Tell me, how should we beat him up? Break one of his legs and one of his arms." Jiang Haobai clenched his teeth. "Sure, that's easy." The glasses-wearing teenager immediately nodded. Jiang Haobai reminded, "Brother Zhou, this Luo Feng is not an easy target. He beat me and my 3 bodyguards." "No worries," the glasses-wearing teenager laughed in confidence. "You can put 1,200 hearts worth of trust in me and wait for the good news." Deep into the night, The moon and stars weren't visible in today's sky, so the cell Luo Feng resided in was completely dark. Only the roads outside of the cell had some light. HU. Snores kept ringing throughout the cell, showing that virtually everyone was in deep sleep. Suddenly, on the left bed, Luo Feng, who was originally lying in rest, sat up. His legs were crossed and his soles faced forwards. His hands rested on his legs and his back was perfectly straight. According to the article I saw at the Limit Hall, there is only one type of genetic energy training on Earth: Wu Xi and Xiang Tian training. Once someone reaches the body fitness level of a fighter, they usually are able to start their genetic energy training right away. Luo Feng took in a deep breath. The article said that the first feeling is the hardest. To absorb the cosmic energy, you need to be able to sense them first. According to the article, this energy is spread around the Earth. Even the stars in the universe has this energy. However, most people can't detect the presence of the energy. As long as I can do the feeling, it'll be easy to absorb them. The talented people can sense the energies on their first day of training. The less talented fighters take up to 1.5 years just to sense the energy. Luo Feng adjusted his breathing and kept the position of the Wu Xi and Xiang Tian technique. The Wu Xin asterisk refers to the two soles, the two palms, and the main artery in the head. Note: Wu Xin means 5 hearts. Breathe. Luo Feng's breathing slowly stabilized. As he stabilized himself, Luo Feng could feel his heart becoming calm. My body has to loosen up. The Wu Xi and Xiang Tian is a natural process. I have to calm my heart like a lake in the reflection of a mirror. Luo Feng's self-control was good, so he was able to slowly calm himself. Even his heart was calmed. It was completely silent. His breathing could barely be heard. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. Luo Feng suddenly opened his eyes. Where is this so-called energy? How come I can't sense it? My heart and body should have been very calm just now. Maybe, like the article said, a talented person can succeed on the first day, but an untalented person would take 1.5 years to sense the energy. I'll try again. Luo Feng shut his eyes and tried to feel the energy described in the article. Relax, quiet. n/o/vel/b//n.c//om. These were the 2 points that the Wu Xi and Xiang Tian technique stressed the most. Still not right. Half an hour later, Luo Feng opened his eyes. Luo Feng has witnessed that the first stage of genetic energy training feeling is very difficult. I'll try one last time. If I don't succeed, I'll wait until tomorrow night. I hope I can succeed. Luo Feng hoped in his heart, shut his eyes, and started to calm himself again in order to sense the energy. Time passed slowly. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour, and 20 minutes. How come it's still not working? In his almost meditative state, Luo Feng's thoughts started to slow down too. Slowly. In this almost meditative state, Luo Feng had a bit of hope in the bottom of his heart, hoping to sense the energy. However, as time passed, Luo Feng was falling asleep. A normal person who thinks of nothing and closes his eyes for half an hour at late night would fall asleep, and Luo Feng has been going at this for 3 hours already. About to fall asleep, Luo Feng forgot to try and sense the energy. So comfortable. Luo Feng, who was falling asleep, felt a faint energy go through his soles, palms, and the major artery of his head. At a slow, steady rate, it entered his body. What is this? Luo Feng was still half asleep. It's the energy. Luo Feng abruptly woke up and opened his eyes. The feeling he had before immediately disappeared. Luo Feng never thought that he would be able to sense the energy when he was about to fall asleep. I felt it. That must be the energy I was looking for. Luo Feng was extremely happy inside. According to the article, once you pass the prospective fighter test, many people can start their genetic energy training. Even if you don't sense it consciously, your body slowly absorbs it unconsciously. Luo Feng knew that the feeling just now meant that he was absorbing the energy. However, this kind of absorption speed was much too slow. It's that kind of feeling. Luo Feng shut his eyes and tried to sense it again. He stabilized his breathing and calmed his heart. His consciousness focused on the soles of his feet, the palms of his hands, and the artery of his head. He tried to sense the energy he just felt. He felt like he sensed the energy, but at the same time he felt like he didn't. Slowly, the feeling was getting clearer and clearer. It's this. A very small thing like a breath floated slowly. When it neared Luo Feng's soles, it seeped in slowly. This is the energy. Luo Feng focused on the Wu Xin, and he focused on absorbing the energies. Naturally, the speed of which his soles, palms, and his head's artery absorb energy increased. It instantly neared to 100 times the speed. If we say that the energies seeped in like a few drops of water from a crack in a water pipe at the beginning, then now, the crack is larger and, like a small river, the energies incessantly flowed into Luo Feng's body. The feeling made him shiver to the bone. The shapeless, colorless energy entered Luo Feng's body. The starving and thirsting cells crazily gobbled up the energy, which came in from 5 different paths. Inside the cell, as the energies entered the cells, it was quickly absorbed by the mitochondria and at the same time, let out a strange energy. This energy was absorbed by the cell, which started causing earth-shattering changes. The DNA blueprints were also beginning to change slightly, and the cell started dividing, one into 2. Time passed slowly. Luo Feng's body kept changing, whether it was the surface of the skin, the muscles, the bones, and even the layers of every single cell. Every part of the body has changed. This change is life's evolution, an enhancement of life's genes. According to the training guide, humans, starting from birth, were unable to absorb the energies. So in a state of starvation, when you absorb the energies for the first time, you absorb the highest amount, which is also the time of the quickest strength boost. Luo Feng felt his fitness level changing. On the Earth and in the entire universe, there is an infinite amount of energy, the amount of which Luo Feng just absorbed is negligible. However, to Luo Feng, this is the biggest jump in strength he has ever had. The density of his bones increased, the cells reduced their volumes and split into 2. The muscle fibers were enhancing themselves, and Luo Feng's body weight kept increasing. Life is so peculiar. In the brain, in a place where Luo Feng couldn't sense, the energies flowed in the depths of his brain. Since birth until now, the 3 shocks to the depths of his brain caused 3 comas. And tonight, a huge amount of energies were flowing in. However, this change was different from the other 3 times. It was more faint. Luo Feng, who was training, didn't notice it at all. Times. Ding dong. Dawn. The sun just rose around 5 or 6 a.m. All the bells in the jail were ringing. Each prisoner began to wake up. Luo Feng, who sat cross-legged for a while, finally opened his eyes and smiled. Indeed, this is the most energy I'll be able to absorb in one duration. I absorbed for almost 2 hours until my body was full. Luo Feng could feel that he had much more power than before. After last night, I feel like my fitness level has raised even more than what my coma during exams gave me, Luo Feng thought to himself. My fist strength would probably be around 1,500 kilograms now, maybe even higher. Only tests could tell how much his strength actually increased. Time for breakfast. Quite a few prisoners left their cells to eat. Luo Feng jumped off his bed, brushed his teeth, and washed his face in preparation for breakfast. At this time, in the hallway, 3 uniform-wearing prisoners walked towards Luo Feng's cell. One of them yelled, "Baldy Huang, I heard a highly skilled person came into your cell, beating 4 elite members single-handedly. Brother Lu, he sure is tough." In Luo Feng's cell, the bald brute laughed and nodded. The 3 prisoners exchanged glances, and one of them said in a low voice, "There's no mistake. The cell number, age, and strength are all correct." Brother Zhou was talking about him. In the jail, after eating breakfast, the prisoners started returning to their cells one by one. In the 3rd cell from the left in the southern hallway, 4 prisoners lay quietly on their beds. One fatty said in a low voice, "Big brother, I talked to Boss Lee during breakfast and he nodded in agreement. We'll send 3 of our professionals. With 2 of Boss Lee's guerrillas, we'll have 5 men. With that Luo Feng shouldn't be a problem." "Fatty, I heard that Luo Feng could beat 4 elite members all by himself. He's quite a tough 1-inch brawny man with tattoos in the shape of a black dog said quietly. Black dog, fatty, other than us, Brother Zhou is sending out Cobra. Even if we don't succeed, Cobra definitely will. A one-eyed middle-aged man said quietly. Cobra? Fatty and the brawny black dog were all shocked. Yeah, in pure coincidence, Cobra is also locked up here, the one-eyed man nodded. With Cobra, there's no way we can fail, Fatty got excited. However, what does Cobra look like? We've never even seen him before. We'll move together. After lunch I'll negotiate with Boss Lee, the one-eyed man said quietly. Without error, we'll move together and take action at dinner time. Remember, bring your weapons. However, the weapons this prisoner was talking about were just small blades formed from sharpening a toothbrush. Even though there were some strict checks in this jail, it can't compare at all to a large-scale prison. However, even in a large-scale prison, crafty men are almost always able to smuggle guns and ammunition in. No matter how secure the place is, as long as people run it, there'll be loopholes. Of course, the people in this jail were just some small fry. They were armed with mere blades and glass pieces. Times. Evening. Brother Luo. As he walked out of his cell, every prisoner he met obediently greeted Luo Feng. Luo Feng's story of his battle between 4 elite members has spread around last night. Virtually everybody in the jail knew of this young man's strength. In the cafeteria. It's called a cafeteria, but it's just a sealed lobby. Long, stabilized silver tables, around a couple dozen of them. Everything in this jail is pretty good, except the food, since Luo Feng succeeded in his genetic energy training last night. He has been in a good mood for the entire day. He walked to the counter and received a plastic lunchbox from the guards, but only some food like mud was inside it. As he lowered his head and looked inside, there was only some food like gray mud. When he smelled it, there was the scent of potatoes. So this is the legendary raw meal, Luo Feng shook his head. It is quite famous. But though it's called raw meal, it's actually the undisputed absolute worst food of society. If you eat this raw meal, you only need 5 cents a day. Just knowing that should tell you enough about the quality of the things inside it. A silver lobby, a silver table, and a silver lunchbox. A large amount of uniform-wearing people came one by one and received their lunchboxes. Luo Feng sat on the side of the table and lowered his head as he started to eat this raw meal. At this time, a skinny, glasses-wearing teenager started cursing. Even pigs and dogs eat better food than this. As he ate 2 bites of the contents of the lunchbox next to Luo Feng. Hurry, you lost, give me 2 smokes? What are you saying? In the large silver lobby, over 100 prisoners were talking to each other. It was very messy and chaotic. 2 guards stood outside the railing, both holding an assault rifle. They lazily glanced inside and then started laughing and talking with each other. The security camera at the top continuously recorded all of the events of the silver lobby. Prung, a one-eyed brute, sat at a table 3 meters to the right of Luo Feng's. He glanced at Luo Feng and laughed. You're Luo Feng? Luo Feng looked at the one-eyed brute in the eye. You are? I'm Long, the one-eyed dragon, a low voice said. A short fat man sat in front of the one-eyed brute. At this time, 2 brutes sat next to him like steel towers. The 2 brutes coldly looked into the one-eyed brute. Then, the short fat man laughed coldly. When we went outside to relax yesterday, your men hit my brother, right? Tell us, how are we going to resolve this issue? Fuck off, the one-eyed brute rolled his eye and lectured. Fatty Lee, you better get away from me this instant. If you mess with me, don't blame me for not holding back. The short fat man stared coldly and laughed. One-eyed dragon, it seems like you don't want to talk. Luo Feng ate 2 more bites on the sidelines and glanced. He couldn't help but to be interested. In his point of view, it was clearly 2 major powers in the jail about to fight. Talk sheet. If you still want to talk, fuck off, the one-eyed dragon's only eye rolled as he lectured. Screw it, attack. The short fat man's face was hideous as he shouted. Instantly, the 2 steel tower-like brutes next to him started moving. One of them lifted the long, silver table and slammed it against the one-eyed brute, while the other brute launched a kick like lightning. Dare hit our boss. Brothers, let's go. The entire lobby instantly became chaotic. Punk! One of the prisoners lifted the bench and ferociously slammed it on the security camera in the corner. Every time there's a large-scale gang fight in the jail, the first thing you do is break the camera. Without concrete evidence, the police naturally can just randomly select prisoners to blame. In the silver lobby, the one-eyed dragon threw out his right arm and blocked the brute's kick. However, it was a really powerful kick, so the one-eyed dragon stepped a few steps back, all the way to Luo Feng's side. The two steel tower-like brutes quickly pursued. The men under the one-eyed dragon also rushed towards this direction. Suddenly, Luo Feng was at the center of the gang fight. Can't believe I got messed up in this. Luo Feng could only stand up. He was too lazy to get involved in this. It was at this time that the fatty, under the one-eyed dragon's command, rushed towards Luo Feng. He suddenly revealed a blade sharpened from a screw and pointed it at Luo Feng's waist. Before that, the one-eyed dragon revealed a small blade in his hand and was getting ready to thrust it at Luo Feng. Luo Feng suddenly sensed danger. At the same time, he could feel a slight pain in his waist, as if something sharp has pierced his body. However, as Luo Feng tensed his muscles, he leapt up like a leopard and jumped past the table in front. But at this time, NOVL_JNN. The two steel tower-like brutes launched their legs like battle axes towards Luo Feng. You're asking for death. Luo Feng, who understood what was going on in an instant, howled in a loud voice and slammed his two fists against the two legs. The two steel-like tower brutes, nicknamed gorillas, laughed coldly in their hearts. The explosive energy of the legs are way more powerful than the arms. Would they even fear Luo Feng? Pung, pung, a low striking sound, followed by the sounds of bones breaking. The two ferocious steel tower-like brutes howled in pain. The two of them flew away from Luo Feng's fists and slammed against a faraway table. On the bench and floor, there were bloodstains that could shock you. All the two brutes held their legs in pain as they rolled around on the ground. What? The one-eyed dragon, along with Fatty and Black Dog, who were beside him, were all shocked. At this time, an ear-piercing alarm rang. All the guardsmen in the jail rapidly rushed out of their resting areas to group up as they headed towards the cafeteria. Luo Feng touched his waist and saw that the blood has stained his uniform. The legends were right. Fighters that are capable of genetic energy trainings have fist strengths of 3 to 4,000 kg. A regular small bullet are incapable of piercing through their muscles. The fatty's knife only went through Luo Feng's skin and was stopped by his muscles. So, you guys were putting on a play. Luo Feng glanced at the one-eyed dragon and the short fat man, his eyes filled with ferocity, which caused the both of them to go pale from shock. Everyone at him, he's injured. The one-eyed dragon shouted in rage. Everyone together. The short fat man also howled loudly. As they shouted, they lifted benches to slam Luo Feng with. Following their boss's actions, the other men naturally started to rush together with their own benches. Luo Feng's movements were like a phantom's. His two legs were like cannon shots, kicking every prisoner into the air. For the regular prisoners, Luo Feng wasn't too cruel, since they were just following orders. However, Luo Feng would not show any mercy to the two leaders and the fatty who stabbed him. Luo Feng's chop broke the bench in half, and his arm slammed on the one-eyed dragon's, causing him to fly up in the air. His arm made a counterclockwise 90-degree turn. People were all being launched into the air, benches and tables were being twisted and shattered one by one. The difference. This is the difference between a fighter who is trained in the genetic energy techniques and regular aggressive convicts. As Luo Feng scanned the group of prisoners, the skinny glasses-wearing teenager who was silently watching suddenly waved his hand. Lay off! As a cold light passed through the sky, he was already in front of Luo Feng. The skinny teenager was Jian region's famous Cobra star. His rise to fame is his one-handed throwing knife technique. When the other prisoners started mobbing Luo Feng, the Cobra teenager searched for the best opportunity to strike. Right when Luo Feng was getting out of hand, he attacked. The throw knife was very sinister. As it flew, it was blocked by a prisoner's body, so Luo Feng didn't even realize what was coming for him. Note, cobra in Chinese is literally glasses snake. Xiao. The knife flew between the gap of a prisoner's pants who was thrown up by Luo Feng. When Luo Feng saw the knife, it was only 2 meters away. N/O/vel/B//in.C//om. Not good. I can't make it. Luo Feng's reaction speed was fast, but he didn't have enough time to move his body out of the way. The knife wasn't aiming for any vital organs, but for Luo Feng's right shoulder. No! Luo Feng glanced. For a fighter, his arms are extremely important. Luo Feng uses blades and is right-handed. If the knife breaks through the joint and splits the bone, then he wouldn't be able to use his techniques against the beast for a few months. In other words, if he gets hit, he wouldn't be able to participate in the August 1st fighter combat exam. He would have to wait until next year's February 1st. No, get out of the way. With the knife speed and the 3-meter distance, Luo Feng's thoughts weren't thinking about the consequences at all. At this exact second, at this crucial moment, Luo Feng's spirit tightened and all of his muscles were pushed to the extreme. He stared at the knife with only one goal in mind. Dodge this knife. Don't let this knife hit my shoulder. The knife, which was right about to hit Luo Feng, strangely and mysteriously slightly changed direction. It was about to make a direct hit with Luo Feng's shoulder, but now it only grazed it and damaged Luo Feng's first layer of skin. The blood slowly dyed Luo Feng's uniform at the shoulder area. Everybody down on their knees. Everybody down on their knees. Hurry and get down. At this time, a large amount of assault rifle-wielding guardsmen rushed into the lobby. All the prisoners, who were previously out of control, obediently kneeled. Even that skinny cobra teenager kneeled. He looked at Luo Feng with a shocked face. How could this happen? How did my knife miss? Seeing the police rush in, even Luo Feng immediately kneeled. How did the knife change direction just now? Luo Feng, who was kneeling, was confused. However, a horrible headache without any prior warnings manifested. The pain was as if someone was pounding a spike into Luo Feng's brain. The pain caused Luo Feng's entire body to cramp, and he fell on the ground. What happened? You guys come look with me. The police, who already had the situation under control, were astonished at Luo Feng's look. Luo Feng was completely red and was sweating a lot. Some blood even came out instead of sweat, which caused Luo Feng's uniform to turn almost completely red. His veins were bursting like a blue snake coiling around Luo Feng, which made him look unprecedentedly hideous. Not good. He's already out. Hurry and send him to the medical room. Even though Luo Feng lost consciousness, his body was still completely red. In Luo Feng's mind, a huge, mysterious power continuously surged from Luo Feng's mind and instantly merged with every spot in Luo Feng's body. Under the baptism of this mysterious power, Luo Feng's bones, organs, blood, muscles, and skin were undergoing drastic changes. Even every cell was changing rapidly. This rate of change was hundreds to thousands of times faster compared to Luo Feng's genetic energy training. In theory, such drastic change should tear apart the body. However, as the mysterious power merged, Luo Feng's insides were completely unharmed, despite his cramps, loss of blood, etc. Hurry, carefully, send him to the medical room. The police started to carry Luo Feng to the medical room. The mess caused by the large-scale gang fight was quickly cleaned out. Times. 8 p.m. In the eerie 3-story jail, there was a movie being played on a 200-inch screen in the lobby on the first floor. Stop, a middle-aged man said as he sat on the sofa while wearing pajamas. Immediately, the movie being played was paused. At this time, a knocking noise came from outside. My name is Jiang, and I'm from the top military academy in Jiangnan. My family lives in Yangzhou City, so I took this chance to take the exam while it's summer vacation. Yang stuck out his hands to both Luo Feng and Yang Wu for handshakes. I'm glad to be able to meet you too. Jiangnan's top military academy? Luo Feng was planning to go there. Luo Feng laughed. My name is Luo Feng, and he is Yang Wu. We are both from Jian region's dojo of limits. Luo Feng brothers' future is surely limitless. Not many people become fighters even in our elite class in the military academy by young, happily made friends. For Luo Feng to become a prospective fighter at such a young age, he was even more happy to become friends. Luo Feng might become a super important person in the future. Yang Wu laughed on the side. Let's not say so much. It must be fate for all of us to pass the exam at the same place on the same day. Today's a good day. Let's find some restaurant to eat heartily and chat happily. Okay, Yang smiled and accepted. Let's go. Luo Feng also laughed. The three of them just passed the prospective fighter exam and were bursting with excitement. They selected a restaurant and ate lunch together, and then went their separate ways back home. Times. Luo Feng drank some liquor today and was waiting to report the good news to his family on the subway. However, there were too many people on the subway. He was afraid that if he spoke the words "pass the prospective fighter exam," he would cause a scene. Well, it wouldn't be too late to call after I exit the subway. After taking the number 1 subway line to Zhong'an Road Station, it would take a long walk to get to Zhong'an Road Station's number 11 line. I'll tell Dad, Mom, and Brother now. Luo Feng has been excited up until now. Prospective fighter. His family has been so poor and working for so many years. He has been working for so many years, and finally there's some accomplishment. As he stood on the sidewalk of Zhong'an Road Station, Luo Feng took out his cell phone. Beep! Beep! After typing in the number, Luo Feng waited. Hello? The cell phone carried his brother's voice. Luo Feng laughed and said, It's me. Of course. Don't you even know what kind of person your brother is? Of course I passed. Hi, yeah, okay. Luo Feng held his cell phone and happily said, Is Mom home? Okay, let Mom take the phone. Hello, Mom. It's me, Feng. Luo Feng was bursting with happiness. As he heard his mother's happily excited voice across the cell phone, the sides of Luo Feng's eyes started to become moist, for he has worked for this day for far too long. Mom, you asked 3 times already. I really did pass the exam. The forms will arrive at home in a few days. n/o/vel/b//in.c//om. I ate already with the other 2 people who passed. Luo Feng laughed. Oh, call Dad? Don't worry, Mom. I won't forget. Okay, I know. After he hung up, Luo Feng couldn't help but to let out a smile. Happiness, satisfaction. Wasn't Luo Feng's bitter training since childhood all for the sake of this day? Luo Feng adjusted his breathing and calmed himself, or else he wouldn't be able to call his father's cell phone. In this family, Luo Honggua is the family's mountain, the family's pillar. Before Luo Feng became an elite member, the family had to completely rely on what his father earned. Even though his mother works, she needs her energy to take care of her 2 sons, even more so since one of them is handicapped. Father's home remodeling work is bitter and hard. He frequently gets injured on the job. Dad, from now on, you will never have to go through such exhausting work again, Luo Feng thought to himself. Beep! Beep! A sound came from the cell phone as Luo Feng waited for his father to answer. No lights were turned on in the gloomy room. In utter darkness, Luo Feng sat on the sofa. He was unable to calm down. This power is too powerful. A regular pistol could only make a dent out of that huge boulder. With my needle, I easily destroyed the fake mountain. Its power is easily tens to hundreds of times stronger. In the war between man and beast that has lasted for a couple dozen years, man couldn't achieve victory because the beasts are too strong. There are weak and strong monsters in their horde. Even the weakest monsters can shake off the pistol's attacks. Even the weakest fighter can block the bullet with just their muscles. For the stronger monsters, even military-grade weapons cannot harm them. Only heavy-class sniper rifles, huge-barreled heavy machine guns, high-rate-of-fire machine guns, cannons, etc. can harm them. Of course, the top monsters like the black-crowned eagle wouldn't even lose a feather after withstanding a barrage from the 20mm Fire God cannon. That is truly terrifying. I can't believe I have telekinesis. Could this be? Luo Feng's heart skipped a beat. Could it be his spirit reader's spiritual force? Luo Feng knew very little about spirit readers. NOVEL B //JNN. However, he knew some basic information. Spirit readers were usually powerful fighters who also trained their genetic energy. However, spirit readers not only train the basic genetic energy, but also their second power, telekinesis. This telekinesis is called by most spiritual force. However, I'll have to check later if it's actually spiritual force, Luo Feng thought. Luo Feng has only seen one spirit reader since birth, and that is the mysterious black-robed person chief instructor, Wu Tong, called captain in Yangzhou City's limit hall. The needle's power was powerful, but it would be no use against the black-crowned eagle. Only a high-intensity laser cannon or nuclear weapons could pose a threat to them. Luo Feng was clear that, even though his current power was amazing, there are tens to hundreds to thousands of even more powerful existences on Earth. According to the internet, the strongest fighter who slayed the black-crowned eagle. His speed surpasses the speed of sound. He can cut the black-crowned eagle in half with just a knife. One kick could destroy a 6-story apartment. This is the strongest person within all the fighters. The strongest fighter, Hong, the second strongest thunder god, are treated as equals by the 5 major countries. Luo Feng took a deep breath. For a country to treat one person as an equal, it's obvious that their powers are insanely high. My needle probably can't even touch their bodies, Luo Feng reminded himself. Even though he was powerful, there are still many other powerful people. Even though he reminded himself this, those fighters are too far ahead for Luo Feng to comprehend. Luo Feng's current power is enough for his family to live a great life. Work hard. I'm still young, so I might be able to stand in the circle of the strongest fighters in the future, Luo Feng thought with excitement. In this gloomy room, Luo Feng has awakened, so he was too excited to sleep. Whatever, I'm too worked up to sleep now. I guess I'll do some genetic energy training. Luo Feng got into the Wu Xan Xiang Tian position and closed his eyes to start training. His body already has some genetic energy and he has previous experience, so it was very easy to sense the energy. The genetic energy flowed through his soul's palms and the artery of his head. It seems like the rate of absorption is faster today. The energy followed the 5 paths into Luo Feng's body. Every cell in every location gulped down this mysterious energy. With the mitochondrial conversion, the energy turned into genetic energy. My head. Luo Feng could feel that a large amount of energy flowed into his brain and gathered there. After something like a tremor of a soul, Luo Feng surprisingly found out that his consciousness has moved to a very mysterious place. This mysterious place had no borders or walls. It was just an infinite expanse of fog. In this fog, there was a dark golden ball. This dark golden ball was like a star that slowly rotated by itself, while releasing a stream of fog. This mysterious place's fog kept increasing. This fog is the spiritual force. Luo Feng easily felt the energy in the fog. It was a spiritual force that he used to control things. Also, Luo Feng clearly saw a stream of transparent energy leak into this mysterious place. The energy quickly assimilated into the fog's energy. Luo Feng could feel that the transparent energy was the cosmic energy. This fog is the spiritual force, and this transparent energy is the cosmic energy. The cosmic energy is sucked into here and transformed into spiritual force. My spiritual force extends from my brain. Luo Feng was shocked. This place is my brain? Or should I say, the conscious realm is a special title fighters use for the mind. Why is there a dark, golden ball in the middle of my conscious realms? Luo Feng observed as this dark, golden ball constantly rotated by itself and released the fog, spiritual force. As it released the spiritual force, Luo Feng's mind was also comfortable. This dark, golden ball might be the cause for all my comas. Luo Feng had an intuition. A dark, golden ball releasing spiritual force? In the past, I didn't have any spiritual force. I only had it after this time's coma, Luo Feng thought. Then with this time's coma, this dark, golden ball released a large amount of spiritual force. Not only did it grant me the power of telekinesis, but it also enhanced my body. His fitness level was strong, but compared to telekinesis, it was nothing, right? When the prisoners were attacking me, one of them threw a knife. That knife suddenly changed direction when it was about to pierce through my shoulder. I guess that was because of my spiritual force. Luo Feng easily deducted the truth from the situation. Indeed, the dark, golden ball did release a large amount of spiritual force from this time's coma. However, when Luo Feng first started doing genetic energy training on his first night in jail, the cosmic energy started triggering changes in his conscious realm. Even without the throwing knife, the dark, golden ball was already releasing a large amount of spiritual force. As time passed, it built up and gave him the power of telekinesis. The throwing knife attack only caused Luo Feng to awaken earlier. There's a 90% chance that this dark, golden ball was acting up and caused my comas as a result. However, now that the dark, golden ball is constantly releasing spiritual force, I shouldn't be going into a coma anymore. Luo Feng thought that, like a dam holding back water, the dark, golden ball couldn't release any spiritual force. Because of that, Luo Feng had headaches every day. Now that there's a channel for the water to drain out, there's naturally no problem anymore. Times. Dawn of day 2. When Luo Feng was leaving the room and went downstairs, he realized there was someone sitting in the lobby. "Good morning, Mr. Luo Feng." A man in a military uniform stood up and smiled. "Hello," Luo Feng said suspiciously. "Where is this place? How did I get here? Also, I think I've never met you before." The military officer smiled. "Let me introduce myself. I am Jian Region's Jail's Tongan. This is my Jian Region's military recuperation area. Mr. Luo Feng, I can't believe that you already passed the prospective fighter exam. Of course, our jail has no right to keep Mr. Luo Feng here. So Mr. Luo Feng has the right to go home now." "Go home now?" Luo Feng nodded. Luo Feng wasn't surprised, since when he beat up so many prisoners yesterday, and especially when he left so many dents on the metal tables, it was easy for people to realize his true strength. "I want to ask, who was behind all of this?" Luo Feng frowned. The military officer hesitated. "If your jail cannot answer, I will contact the Dojo of Limits and go through Jiangnan City Security Agency to find everything out," said Luo Feng. "Once this matter goes out, people will know that a prospective fighter was locked up in a jail and mobbed by prisoners, and that the jail tried to hide the offenders. In the higher authorities of the jail, there'll definitely be trouble." The military officer laughed. "Don't rush, Mr. Luo Feng. It's like this. According to our investigations, a gang leader named Zhou Yang organized this attack. According to our investigation, they wanted to break Mr. Luo Feng's arm and leg." "Oh!" Luo Feng frowned. "Break my arm and leg? How cruel. They want to take me out? I don't even know this Zhou Yang. Who made him do it?" The military officer replied. "We have already interrogated Zhou Yang. A teenager named Zhang Haobai asked him to do it." "Zhang Haobai?" Luo Feng's gaze was cold. "He doesn't know when to quit." "Indeed, he doesn't," the military officer smiled. "Luo Feng, you can choose to go through Jiangnan City Security Agency to detain Zhang Haobai. He was the mastermind of a plot to harm a prospective fighter, which is a heavy crime. It's normal for him to get 20 years in prison. Don't blame me for speaking out of turn, but Zhang Haobai's uncle is also a fighter," said the military officer. "Luo Feng, you could choose to make his uncle lose face and ask the security agency to detain Zhang Haobai. Since the security agency deals with all the fighters' matters and have immense power, Zhang Haobai's uncle cannot influence the actions of the security agency at all. You can choose to make an enemy out of his uncle and deal with Zhang Haobai. You can also negotiate with him in private and make the Zhang family pay money. All of this will be decided by you." "Luo Feng," the military officer smiled. "That's all I had to say. Your cell phone and other belongings are all right here, Mr. Luo Feng." Luo Feng nodded. "To negotiate in private and make him pay a large sum of money, or deal with him regardless of the consequences?" "Hello, Dad." Luo Feng held up the cell phone and called. "I left the jail already, and I'll be home in a bit to eat breakfast." "Don't worry, Dad. Your son is very strong now. How could there be any problems?"